You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Kansas. So, Lauren?
Yes, Kenzie.
Let's get scary.
It's been so long.
You're home.
For all of you, it just sounds like a normal week, but for us, we haven't seen each other in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I'm home.
she left me.
I did, to go on my honeymoon.
Left me in the dust, and I was a good friend, and I only texted her if I absolutely needed to because I was like, you should enjoy your honeymoon, like, don't worry about me. And there was all these kinds of things that I wanted to tell her, and I was like, no, just wait till she gets back, and you can tell her.
So we caught up for about 2 hours.
Yes, and that, we, like, cut ourselves off.
Yeah. So you're welcome.
So, yeah.
But for everyone who was wondering, I went to Punta Cana,
Mm-hmm.
Dominican Republic, with Joe for our long-awaited honeymoon,
Mm-hmm.
and it was amazing.
That's fantastic. We love amazing.
Yeah.
Note that she totally could have taken me with them, and I would have been able to occupy myself. I wouldn't even been in the way. I wouldn't have been this awkward third wheel that I'm sure they thought I would be. But I wasn't invited, but that's okay.
I don't think I would ever think you were a third wheel. I would think more Joe of the third wheel, but that's okay.
Yeah, probably.
There was a little couch there in our room, and apparently what we learned from someone else was that the couch is very comfortable to sleep on. So you would have had a very comfy couch.
Or just find another place to sleep.
That one person did have the room all to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You could have easily found other places to sleep.
I could have probably had a different room every night if I wanted to.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's not a huge resort, but you could have.
Might have to double dip a little bit.
You'd have to double dip. Because a lot of people are either there with their significant other or their family.
Not them. But
But yeah, it was a great time. We had a lot of fun. We met a lot of interesting characters.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
For her, I enjoyed the stories that came from it. Fascinating.
And then Joe and I got sick on the way home.
Yep.
We have been battling a cold for the past couple days.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. I know everyone loves when I tell them, like, oh, my allergies are acting up, or oh, my sickness. So
You don't sound that bad, though.
I don't. I sounded way worse a couple days ago.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, it was not great.
Same. I also sounded nasally. Not anymore.
But we're doing better now.
Good. That's good.
All right, should we jump into Kansas?
Yes, but a little, not warning. I can't think of caveat, maybe?
Sure.
Because I just did these right in front of you like an hour ago. Instead of ahead of time like I normally do.
Mackenzie comes in, and I'm like, what state are we on? And she's like, Kansas. And I said, okay, we don't have the state facts. She goes, oh, no.
I'm
so
proud of myself for being ready on time.
As we're chatting, she's just putting all the state facts in.
That's why. But because I have discovered over time that some of the ones that I include, I double check.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's like the biggest one or whatever, because I'm like, every time I've gone to look at it later, something else pops up. So
Right.
I've started to not trust the
like
facts.
Rhode Island. You want to talk about why it was the longest one?
Correct. Yes. Like Rhode Island, I figured out the reason we're not actually stupid. We're actually very smart
we
people.
are. Yeah.
Up until 2020, which is kind of still crazy, Rhode Island had like a longer name.
State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations.
That.
They
And
voted to remove Providence Plantations from the state name, so the current seal only says State of Rhode Island.
Right. So that's why it's no longer the longest name.
So we were right.
Well, I said I didn't want to include it because we would look stupid. And I couldn't figure out why the hell they were saying that.
But yeah, so there's your reasoning. So
I usually, like, if there's one I don't trust and I check it, I won't put it in. I'd be like, well, that's not true because I just looked that up. But I didn't get a chance to do that. So our state facts are not fact checked.
We are in these points going off what the internet tells us. And if you don't like it, go look at our works cited page.
Yep. And then you can talk to the person who came up with the fact and let them know that they're wrong.
Yeah.
So tell us about maybe Kansas facts.
Maybe. Okay. A huge swath of the United States used to look a lot like the Kansas prairie.
This is from CNN. So this one, that's legit.
More than 170 million acres were once covered by tall grass prairie, a complex ecosystem of 40 to 60 different types of grasses and other wildlife.
I forget that grass is like a plant.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I just think of it as like...
Just like grass. Agriculture. How does that say weird? Agriculture.
There you go.
Yeah. And urban development eventually swallowed up much of the prairie, and less than 4% remains, mostly in the Flint Hills of Kansas. Meander along nature trails at the Tall Grass Prairie National Preserve, which protects about 10,000 acres. The preserve, about 90 miles northwest of Wichita, is where the Nature Conservancy and the National Park Service reintroduced bison to the prairie in 2009, the first time bison have roamed the preserve's land in over a century. Keep an eye out for the bison, which can be found in the preserve's wild mill pasture and often cross hiking trails. Stand back. Bison will attack when provoked.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't a lot of bison, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
There's more now, but I believe they're considered endangered.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then why are we allowed to eat bison meat?
Maybe because that's controlled. I don't know.
I have no idea.
We don't have... That's usually not as common, though, as
No.
the other meat.
No, it's not.
So... But I'm sure it's like dairy farm versus like meat farm. You have the cows for the meat versus you have the cows for the dairy. I don't know.
I don't think there's bison milk.
No, I'm just talking about... Sorry. I know. I'm thinking... The part I thought about in my mind that I forgot to say out loud was like you have the bison that are like part of nature preserves in like national parks and stuff to like help with the ecosystem.
That would have been an important part to add in there, yeah.
And they're also fucking huge, so who knows how much you could get from that.
Just got a little sliver off.
What?
Nothing.
Oh. Anyway, continue.
Fertile farmland is one of the state's top natural resources. The state's most abundant crop is wheat. No other U.S. state produces as much. And in fact, Sumner County, Kansas is sometimes called the wheat capital of the world.
This is from National Geographic Kids, so this should also be legit.
Descend 650 feet beneath the earth to experience Stratacca, Kansas's underground salt museum.
Stratacca? I don't think that's a ch at the end.
Stratacca.
Yeah,
Stratacca. Part of the working salt mine, whose salt was formed about 275 million years ago. Kansas really is flatter than a pancake. Scientists proved it when they compared the topography of Kansas against that of a pancake from IHOP.
See, that's one of the ones I would have fact-checked and be like, is that legit?
That's the kind of research I want to do. Smith County, Kansas is the geographical center of the 48 contiguous states. Kansas ranks second nationally in average number of tornadoes per year, 60, and third in tornadoes per 1,000 square miles, 44.
I think Mississippi
has more?
Or maybe it's Missouri.
Probably Missouri.
Maybe it's Missouri. One of them has the most.
Ew.
Or maybe it's Nebraska. It's not the ones you immediately think of when you think tornadoes, like Kansas.
Yeah.
That much I remember.
The new Twister movie is coming out.
I know.
It's called Twisters.
Really excited. We talked about this in Oklahoma.
So many tornado states.
We talked about it in Oklahoma.
Well, we'll go see it together and then we'll tell everyone about it.
Yeah.
There are 27 walnut creeks in the state.
Again.
Original. Dodge City is the windiest city in the United States with an average wind speed of 14 miles per hour.
See, again, I would have double checked that one because my immediate thought is Chicago.
Chicago. Because isn't it called the Windy City?
Correct.
Yeah. The Hugoton gas field is the largest natural gas field in the United States. It underlies almost 8,500 square miles, an area nearly 5 times as large as the state of Rhode Island. What this means is, second only to Texas, there have been more meteorites found in Kansas than in any other state west of the Mississippi River. That's interesting. The Arkansas River may be the only river whose pronunciation changes as it crosses state lines. In Kansas, it is called the Arkansas?
So saying Arkansas like you would how you pronounce Kansas. Arkansas.
Oh, okay. In Kansas, it's called the Arkansas. On both sides of Kansas, Colorado and Oklahoma, it's called the Arkansas.
Like how we say the state.
I don't like that.
Which one?
Arkansas.
Well, right, because we're not used to it.
I mean, it makes the most sense.
It pissed me off when I saw that and had to spell all 50 states, and I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Because then we have Arkansas. We should also have Kansas.
Right, or Kansas and Arkansas.
Yeah.
We have North and South Dakota, North and South Carolina, so it's not like we're against naming states the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
It could be West Virginia, Virginia. Although I'm so glad we're not East Virginia because that's just tacky.
It's just tacky? I don't get it.
Like, you know, we have North and South Dakota.
Yeah.
North and South Carolina.
Yeah.
We have West Virginia.
Oh, but not
East Virginia.
Yeah, that would have been stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. It's like, is there a joke here? I'm not kidding.
Yes.
Opened in 1857, Hayes House in Council Grove is the oldest continuously operating restaurant west of the Mississippi River. They really like to tell you which side of the Mississippi we're on.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. It's a long ass river.
It
It
is.
pretty much cuts us in half. It goes from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So I get it.
In 2007, a tornado leveled or destroyed 95% of Greensburg. It was 26 miles long. The tornado?
Lauren, I copied and pasted. I don't know. Remember, I didn't have time to fact check.
Wow. It was 26 miles long, nearly 2 miles wide, and the damage it caused cost $250 million. I don't think a tornado could be 26 miles long.
From the sky.
Oh. Oh. Okay, that makes sense.
I think you got too much sun.
How high is 26 miles? That's like a marathon into the sky.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to see if a tornado can be 26 miles long?
Yeah.
Roughly 2% of all tornadoes are violent tornadoes with wind speeds 300 miles or more, average path width of 425 yards, and an average path length of 26 miles. So it might not
path length.
Right. I was just going to say it might not be up and down, but how far it goes.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, so it will travel 26. So with ones that had a 26-mile path, it was the first tornado to be rated an EF5. There are currently 528 caves and counting identified throughout the state. In 1928, a tornado in Kansas was so strong it plucked feathers off some chickens. In the town of Liberal, Kansas, you can see a house that is an exact replica of Dorothy's house in the movie The Wizard of Oz. In Kansas, farmland covers more than 88% of the total land. Wow. And all the wheat grown in Kansas in a single year would fit in a train stretching from western Kansas to the Atlantic Ocean. What this means is... So that's Kansas.
Did you know? Do you remember the Dust Bowl?
Uh-huh.
Do you know why we had the Dust Bowl?
Farming.
Yeah. Good job. I'm so proud of you.
I remember some things.
Oh,
I was going to say the obvious answer, wind. But, you know.
You're right.
I went more deep.
It did have to do with that, but we didn't have good farming practices because why listen to the Native Americans who had been doing it for thousands of years and didn't have this problem?
Right.
Who lived in this area too.
Right.
No. That's why we had the Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
It didn't help that it was also right after the Great Depression.
No.
Like, stock market crash, then Dust Bowl. All at the same time. I would not have...
What a time.
I did not want to be around in the 30s, I'll tell you that much.
No, I wouldn't either.
The 40s. Or even back in the 50s.
Joe said he would have liked to have grown up in the 60s. Not for, like, some stuff, like, then, but he was like, I liked the music.
Yeah, that's what I've come to, like, rephrase. Instead of saying, you know, I was born in the wrong decade. I'm like, I would love to be able to go back and grow up in the time of this music.
Yeah, that's exactly his thing.
And be able to see those people.
Yes. But
I fully recognize all the other
errors of every era.
Like, I wouldn't really want to go back to the 1960s because then I couldn't have my own credit card.
Right.
So,
like, he didn't want it for that reason.
Right.
But it was like the music and like what it, like,
like, I would have loved to have been able to go to Woodstock.
Yeah.
You know, see Queen.
Yeah.
Like Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
You know, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
That would have been cool.
That would have been cool. Yeah. I would have loved that.
But everything else, like, it mind boggles me. I truly have forgotten how people are supposed to function without a cell phone.
Oh, I know. And
I know that for a time we did.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like, I didn't
get my first phone until 6th grade, and it was a flip phone that had no camera.
Yep.
And I only had it because I stayed after school, and my mom wanted a way to reach me. It was free on their plan.
I got one because they got one for my sister, and I said, well, what she has, I can have.
Well, yeah.
So I got one.
I would think the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to convince my mom to give me the one with the camera because I was like, what if I'm lost? And the only way I can show you where I am is a camera like a picture. And she goes, no.
I feel like by the time you and I met, your Hippo phone had tape on it.
That was when batteries could be removed from the phone easily. And I dropped mine once, and the little clip that held the phone in, like the battery in, it broke. And so my mom was like, look at the wonders of duct tape. And so we duct taped my phone battery into the phone.
Yeah.
Those were wild times.
Really wild. Very wild.
And now your phone can survive falling into water.
Yeah, which is a good thing because I spilled coffee on mine this morning. So glad that that's the thing now.
Good thing.
I used to go through phones like I don't know, whatever you go through fast because
They also weren't expensive then.
I think my dad would beg to differ. I lose things. I don't know
too.
why he didn't think I was going to lose it. There's a reason they cemented my retainer into my mouth because I kept fucking losing it. I lose everything.
Oh my God. When Joe and I were walking through the airport after we got our suitcase, we just wanted to get home. He's pulling it and all of a sudden it just opens. And thank God all of my clothes were in the zipper part, but everything that fell out was like my blanket, my pillow, all of my shoes. And I just look and I go, Joe! And he was like, it wasn't me!
He used his magical shit.
And then this guy who was there, he was like, oh, that sucks. And
I
so
hate people that do that.
So Joe goes to pick it up because we couldn't figure out how to zip it because the zipper was broken. So he's like carrying through the airport. He's like, this is stupid. And he's like walking with it. And I was like, pull over, pull over. So we like moved over to the side. So we moved to the side of the hallway and we like were able to zip it up enough to make it home.
What's spooky to you, porn, Lauren?
Alrighty. So in Kansas. So I'm doing my research. I decided what I wanted to cover. Well, I accidentally clicked on, I'm covering a cemetery. I accidentally clicked the wrong cemetery. But it was still in Kansas. But so I'm just going to give you a brief little blurb about a place that I found because I wrote a little bit about it.
Okay.
And then we'll go into my actual story.
Okay. At least yours was still in Kansas and not fucking Missouri. You gotta change those names.
So we're still in Kansas. We're in Alma Cemetery. And this is home to the Devil's Chair.
You and devil shit. Devil's
This
Gate,
one-
Devil's Steps.
I know. It's just like, you want something spooky? Here you go.
You're like building your own devil house eventually.
I got more devil stuff too in this one.
Because you got a chair, you got a gate, you got stairs.
We got some stairs again today.
Wow, you got a lot of stairs in your house.
I know. Well, there's 55 up to my front door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this story begins in the 1800s with a mean old farmer.
Always does.
He owned the land that the Alma Cemetery now sits on, which included a very specific well. So the town wanted the land, but the farmer didn't want to sell the land. So legend goes that someone allegedly pushed the farmer into the well, causing his death.
Damn.
But because he was mean, no one noticed his disappearance, and soon enough, the well was covered and the land was taken.
I feel like that's the exact opposite. If you have someone that's a pain in the ass and that you would like to not be around,
Right.
and then all of a sudden they're
gone.
not around, you're gonna fucking notice.
Or maybe it was he's not here anymore.
I noticed, but I'm gonna pretend that I don't.
Yep.
Got it.
Like, oh, where'd the old man go? I don't know. But then in the 1980s, so very recently, well, not really.
40 years.
Gross. The story came back around and a group of teenagers decided that they wanted to go to the well and see if they could find the farmer's ghost. So they decided that the best way to do this was to sit on top of the well covering. A few of the teenagers from the group went to sit on the well. The rest of the group continued to wander around, looking to see if they could find the farmer's ghost. When they looked back
How big is this fucking well?
It's like a big-sized well, but so they're sitting on top of it. The other friends are kind of wandering the property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when they looked back at the top of the well, their friends were just gone. So they
Okay, and you said there's a cover, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like when they were sitting, their feet were dangling in.
Oh, no. God, no.
Okay.
Oh, my God, no.
It's just double checking. So it's definitely like even weirder that they're gone. Because
Yes.
they couldn't have fallen in
Nope.
because there's a cover.
Yes.
Got it. It's not like a pool cover though, right? Where you could.
No, I think it's like a sturdy well cover.
Okay.
You know, those common things.
Exactly.
So they, of course, assumed their friends were just playing a prank on them until the friends never returned and were reported as missing, never to be seen again.
Wait, how, where would they hide?
Exactly. That's the crazy thing.
Where would they fucking hide?
So that's the devil's.
That's it?
Yeah. Well, I didn't go super deep into it. Because
So-
it's not my cemetery.
What the fuck, dude?
I know, creepy.
Major fucking cliffhanger. I just was getting invested into this. Like, what the fuck happened to these friends? Where did they go? I thought we were going to dive into why they.
Nope.
I wonder if this is what blue balls feels like. Wow. Ugh. Okay, well, just give me a second. I'm going to have to let the other one go and, like, not think about it and have all these questions and focus on a different one.
I know.
I know you said short, but I don't know. I thought we'd get a little bit more of a resolution to that.
No, real short. But now we're on to my cemetery.
Okay.
Stull Cemetery.
Mm.
So Stull is...
Stalling these stories.
A bitch. So Stull is a small, quiet town in Douglas County, Kansas, which is located between Topeka and Lawrence.
I love Topeka.
I know. With a population today of only about 20. I know.
Damn.
So interesting fact, the zip code for Topeka begins with 666. With Stull being close with their zip code of 66050.
Is there a 00001?
I think we've looked this up before, and I
Really?
cannot remember the answer. Yes. Dillingham Census Area, State of Alaska.
Interesting.
Yep.
Because I figured it would go, I'm probably thinking numerical order. 13 colonies would be in the
Yeah.
lower ones.
Nope.
And then as you...
Nope. Alaska has the really low ones because 0002 is Yukon Flats National Wildlife, Alaska.
When did we come up with zip codes? I know we're getting off track here. I'm trying to put these puzzle pieces together.
1963.
Oh, then that makes sense. Because
July 1st.
Alaska was one of the last states to join the Union, so I guess that makes sense. And it's the first one on the list if you go alphabetically. Alaska, Arizona. No, Alabama's the first one.
Alabama,
Just kidding.
Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas. That's all I got.
Maybe they were just going left to right.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Damn.
No,
I thought
start
I
over
was
there.
all smart and philosophical, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. There's
But
a
then
state
isn't
before it.
California 90210?
Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
So maybe we just stop giving rhyme or reason to these numbers.
Yeah.
And
Pulling the states out of a hat, and that's how they decide.
okay.
So anywho, Kansas ends up with one starting with 666. Stull is 66050.
Wait, say it slower.
Topeka
Mm-hmm.
is 666,
Mhm.
then two other numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Stull,
Mhm.
which is right next to Topeka, is 66050.
So only 2 6s.
Yeah,
Mm.
but right next to one that's 666.
So
proximity here.
It's demon adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. So how did it get the name of Stull, you may ask?
Stall.
Stull.
Oh, stall.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you'd been
ST.
saying stall, like a bathroom stall.
No, Stull.
Okay.
Yeah, this will make more sense. Okay. So it is said that the original name of the town had been Skull.
I was just about to say that.
But was later changed to Stull
Eh.
as a way to cover up the fact that the whole town is steeped in black magic. I'll get there.
Have we talked about this before?
Mm-mm. I looked it up.
I'm having a very strange sense of deja vu right
I
now.
know. Trust me, when I looked through this, I was like, I haven't covered this.
Right.
And then I looked back at one of the old state facts and I saw one line. I said, that's why this sounds familiar.
Okay.
So we're going to get deeper into it this
Okay,
time.
cool.
So that's one story for how it got its name.
Was that it used to be skull?
Yeah.
And now it's stall.
Or the more likely story. Stull was originally known as Deer Creek and was settled in 1856. There were 6 families living here at the time, all with rich German and Pennsylvania Dutch heritage. For years, the town worked to gather funds in order to build a church for local service. And in 1867, a one-room stone church, the Evangelical Emmanuel Church, was built. Then in 1899, a man named Sylvester Stull came in and established a post office in the town. So with him establishing the post office, his name sort of stuck, and that became the name of the town.
Is there an E?
An E
Uh-huh.
at the end of Stull?
Uh-huh.
No.
So it's like spelled like skull too.
Yeah, just instead of a K, it's T.
So I think it's the first one based on the spelling.
I like that one more, yes.
Mhm.
So then in 1903, the post office shut down, but the name remained. So the town never had more than 50 residents ever at a time. And eventually the town was left in a state of disrepair and ruin.
How would you, which we can get into this later so you can finish your story, but what are your, how would you function? What are your thoughts on living in a town? Like, small town, sure, but this is is
3 families.
right.
No,
No.
I don't.
Like, even if it was near other stuff?
Maybe if I could walk like 10 minutes and be in a bigger town,
Okay.
I could probably handle
But
it.
if it was also in the middle of nowhere, like other small towns?
Absolutely not. Because then you're starting to run into like the inbred issue where like
That's
everyone
just
would
about
be
to fucking say
related.
that. I was like, if there's not enough other people close by.
Right. And then you have hills have eyes and we don't need to get there.
Yeah.
Yep. So, small Stull harbors quite a mysterious aura, though. So, we'll get into the legends that surround Stull and what makes it one of the most legendary and spooky cemeteries.
Legendary.
So, it's said that Stull Cemetery is home to one of the 7 gates of hell.
One of.
Yeah, so apparently there are 7 gates of hell throughout the world,
This is one of
and
them.
this is one of them.
I'm pretty sure you've said this before about a different gates of hell.
I No!
It's like
Because I think I covered one in New Jersey.
yeah, it's like the most haunted place
Yeah.
and wherever, and this is one of the 7 gates, and there's actually really 85 gates.
Oh, yeah, because I looked up the 7 gates of hell to kind of do more research just on this, and it brought, like, there were, like, at least a list of 20.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
So every
So not 7.
gate is one of the gates.
Yeah.
Okay.
That are all condensed into...
You think they're pretty 9?
9?
Mm-hmm.
Like the 9 circles of hell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like that number would make a little bit more sense.
It would. So, apparently, the one in Stull Cemetery is believed to be Beelzebub's gate. So I guess
These have names?
Well, Beelzebub's a demon. So in demonology, he is known as one of the 7 deadly demons or 7 princes of hell.
Oh, 7 deadly sins.
He represents gluttony and envy.
He can't have both.
He does.
Hog.
I know. So it could be that he represents these two. Someone else represents like envy and pride because like gluttony
There's
and envy.
not an even amount of numbers. That you can't do that.
You could.
But then one person's only going to have one.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Unless it's like a big one like wrath. Or lust or something.
I don't like it when things aren't broken up evenly.
I don't think they care about that in hell.
I do.
So, again, I tried to look more into this, tried to find out if each of them had different, like, I tried to find more. I could not. That would require me to go down some deep rabbit hole that I just was not prepared to do. So you got this nice little
where
overview.
your self-control comes in and mine lacks.
Well, see, I started to get scared looking up these names in bed.
Oh.
So I stopped.
You're funny.
Because if you say his name too many times...
You're not saying it. You're writing it.
I didn't want to. So I stopped. And took myself away from it. You know Queen says his name in Bohemian Rhapsody.
I couldn't tell you.
Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me.
I pretty much am like...
For
Like,
me.
I don't
For
actually
me?
say the words.
That's that
because
part.
I don't know them.
But yeah, so, anywho, that's him.
Okay.
So it is said that there are stairs that will lead you straight into the underworld, and those stairs are found,
We love a direct flight.
ever conveniently, in the one church that stood in Stull, the Evangelical Emmanuel Church.
So these stairs, did they lead up to the church or were they in the church?
They were in the church,
Okay.
and they led down.
Down. See, that makes more sense.
So if you follow the stairs down, 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 you will reach the entrance of hell itself. Climbing back up the stairs from hell could take weeks. That is, if the devil doesn't grab you first. So legend also goes that after you begin your descent, you will start to feel an unseen force pulling you down further and further into the darkness.
That makes sense.
Some who have made the descent, or at least a part of it, said that they climbed down for just a minute or two. But their ascent back up took more than 45 minutes.
I don't believe them.
Others claim that
This is definitely one of those things that if you go down, you are not coming back up.
Others claim that they climbed down and back up. It took them only a few minutes to climb down, climb back up, everything was fine. But when they returned, they found out that 2 weeks had passed and they had been missing for that whole time.
Bullshit. No way.
Why do we not believe?
Why? Because it's a gate of hell. You are not coming back up. Like, if you decide
So you're like, it's bullshit that it's later. You're just there.
you are there. Maybe you have some hallucination that you're back, but no, you are there. If I'm the devil and I'm like, you want to be a nosy motherfucker? Well, look where this got you. In hell. You're staying here. No fucking shot.
Because I did cover another cemetery recently where they did go down the gates or whatever, like the stairs, and they would see hell, but then they could come back. I don't remember which one.
I don't know. I feel like if you somehow get yourself to hell through a set of stairs when you're not dead, that's just stupid on your part.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're coming back, you're trying to act all like,
high and mighty.
I checked out the stairs and I came back. No, you didn't.
You're not real.
You're not real, or you didn't actually check out the stairs.
Ooh, there's a movie called The Descent. No
No,
one will
thank
watch
you.
it with me, but it's in a cave.
No,
and I know
thank
the
you.
ending. So if you don't want to hear the ending, skip ahead like 15 seconds. But I'm going to tell you, you're not going to watch it.
How do you know I want to hear the ending?
Because I'm going to tell you anyways. So there's all these creatures in the cave, and this like group of friends are like spelunking. They didn't get out like you did, but they're going through there, and like all these creatures catch all of the friends except one girl, and she escapes. And so she finally crawls out of like this manhole, and she escapes, only to wake up and realize she's still in the cave, and her whole escape was just a dream.
There's a Criminal Minds episode.
Oh my God.
Think they escape and then they wake up.
Yeah, see, I hate that.
Yeah.
So back to Stull Cemetery. So this whole notice of the cemetery and the stairs started to gain traction and attention when an article appeared in the... Yes?
When you say these stairs were in the church, is the church still there?
I'll get to it.
Okay.
I'll talk about the church.
Because I'm like, I'm trying to imagine, are they going into a building and walking down these stairs? Or is it just like a random staircase in the middle of the ground?
Oh, no. At this time, it would be you go into the church and you find the staircase and you go down the stairs.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome. So this article appeared in the University of Kansas student newspaper in November of 1974. So
my case takes place in 1974.
Oh.
And
in
in
November?
No.
Oh. Close
Well,
enough.
October.
Oh.
In fact, when this happened was a little less than a month after my thing happened. So my thing was probably also in the news.
Probably.
When your thing was in the news. Crazy.
Love it. So the article spoke of Stull Cemetery and of hauntings of demonic presences and beings. It is said that Stull was, quote, haunted by legends of diabolical supernatural happenings. It also went on to talk about the stairs and the stairway to hell. So the stairs will not be easy to find, as they are covered with a hidden seal that only appears twice a year. Can you guess which days those are?
Yes.
Okay.
June 6th.
Why? Oh, 6/6.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
No, because that would only work for 2006, so that's not going to work.
Think like big things in the year.
Christmas?
Why would demonic stairs open on Christmas?
To be an asshole?
No. Think of the different holiday for demonic stairs.
Oh, Friday the 13th.
No. Holiday.
Oh, a holiday.
What is our favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Yes.
Halloween.
Okay.
Like a winter solstice because it's so dark?
Close. Spring equinox.
Why? Again, see, this is why this story is bullshit. Because no devil in their right mind is going to come out when the sun is out for longer. You're going to come out on the darkest day of the year.
He comes at midnight.
Stupid.
So those 2 days are Halloween and the spring equinox.
These stairs are doing it wrong.
So the spring equinox usually takes place at the end of March, usually the 19th, 20th, or 21st. So on these days, Halloween being the most active, duh.
Okay, correct. And then you just totally missed the mark with the other one.
I know. An endless stairway opens up in the earth and the devil himself appears in the cemetery. So the legend says that...
Reminds you of like Beetlejuice. It's like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, except you don't say like his name 3 times.
No, I know. But when I think of like a creature coming out from
the ground.
From the ground.
Sprouting.
I either think of that or what's that movie? Little Nicky with Adam Sandler.
I don't like Adam Sandler, so I think he is so stupid. I know, I'm sorry. I know.
First of all, you have just insulted every Jewish person on the face of this earth. Okay, that's number one.
I mean, it's not because of that. I just don't think he's funny.
I know it's not because of that. I'm just saying. Number 2, he's fucking hilarious. Number 3, he made the Hanukkah song.
I do like the Hanukkah song. I don't think he's funny in his movies. They're all the same kind of comedy.
That's how I feel about Will Ferrell, so that's fine.
Okay, see?
Like, I don't think Step Brothers is funny.
Oh, see, I do.
I think it's really stupid.
I like Step Brothers.
I will say that I think Adam Sandler is funny. I do not think all his movies are funny.
Okay, I can get that. I don't know. I just don't like the things where he like acts like a stupid bumbling idiot throughout all of the movies.
No, 50 First Dates.
That's a good one. I do like that one.
Or like the one he's in with Jennifer Aniston.
Right. Okay. Those 2.
Whenever he's in a movie with Jennifer Aniston or Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
Those are his good ones.
Okay.
Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Continue.
Okay. So him appearing. So the devil, not Adam Sandler. So
well, if it was little Nicky, his dad is the devil, so you never know.
Really?
I'm not going to go into it on here. There's a whole, I don't even know all the back things, but there's like this whole thing where his dad's the devil. Somehow this guy gets to Earth and the devil guy comes out.
So just like little Nicky then.
Yeah, that's why I said that's what I pictured.
I don't know. I've never seen it, hence why I want to know that.
I'll have Joe have you watch it.
Okay.
Then you'll get my references.
Okay. So the legend says that the devil has been visiting the cemetery since the 1850s.
Do you think that when the devil does come up, he looks like the devil or he looks like Lucifer?
Ooh, so if he's like a red man with horns or if he's like a really attractive man in a suit.
Like, does he, I feel like he's got to blend in or else we would hear more about scary giant men.
Ooh.
I feel like he's got to blend in.
I don't know, because he's not trying to blend in. Like, he's wanting you to see, like, hey, I'm the devil, here I am.
Hmm.
So there was another article that appeared in the Kansas City Times in 1980, and it said that the devil chose 2 places on Earth where he would appear every Halloween because he's like God, like omnipresent, so he could be anywhere.
Okay.
So one of those places was somewhere in the, quote, desolate plain of India.
I feel like I've heard that.
Probably.
Like,
The other, quote, the tumbleweed hamlet of Stull, Kansas. So he chose India, and he chose Kansas.
I wonder if they're on
on that,
the same line.
yeah, ooh. But I don't know where in India. India's
Well,
big.
that's the problem. is
Ooh, okay, write that on our whiteboard. We're gonna do that while this is uploaded.
India's big.
No, yes. Put line India to Kansas. So according to this, on Halloween in these 2 places, the devil gathers all of the people who have died violent deaths over the past year so they can once again move around Earth at the witching hour.
Died a violent death
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean you go to hell.
No, it's not that he's bringing everyone from hell. He's just bringing those specifically who have died a violent death.
What an interesting choice.
Yeah. Maybe because they didn't get to, like, realize that they were dying, or...
That's awfully nice of the fucking devil.
I know.
Huh.
I know.
That's weird. Maybe he's
And-
not as evil as they'd like us to think he is.
Maybe.
I don't know. People make more jokes about going to hell than heaven, so.
And so why Stull? Like I said, India and Stull. The article goes on to say that an awful event took place in the 1850s, which kind of drew him here. So, quote, a stable hand allegedly stabbed the mayor to death in the cemetery's old stone barn. Years later, the barn was converted into a church, which in turn was gutted by fire. A decaying wooden crucifix that still hangs from one wall is thought to sometimes turn upside down when passerby step into the building at midnight.
I've seen hilarious memes of Jesus being like, why would I want this to be the symbol when it was the worst day of my fucking life?
Right.
I just think that shit's hilarious.
And so to make things a little bit more interesting, apparently neither Stull nor Deer Creek community ever had an official mayor. So how could an official mayor have been murdered? So naturally, the stories that the devil would appear at the cemetery on 2 specific dates spread. And being curious humans, on March 20th, 1978, the spring equinox, more than 150 townspeople gathered at the graveyard to witness the appearance of the devil.
Did they see him?
They wanted to see him. They wanted to see the spirits of those who had died violent deaths return from the grave.
Same. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he's coming out full guns blazing, you're going to go see that.
Oh, yeah. And he comes at midnight. So they knew the time that it would go down was midnight. The crowd was antsy, and about 11:30 p.m. rolls around. They're ready. This is happening. But the devil didn't show up at 11:30, obviously, because it's going to be midnight.
Why is he going to be early?
But rather the police did and forced the crowd to disperse. Just 30 minutes before the Prince of Darkness was to appear. What theory do you have that you had to change your whole seating position?
Well, mostly because my butt hurts. But, okay. So, devil's got mystical powers, right?
Uh-huh.
Can control things.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't want to be seen like that.
Uh-huh.
You know, wants to continue being an unofficial official legend.
Right.
Which is why he blends in. And so, police just happen to be called.
That's what everyone
30 minutes
said.
Before they come.
They're like, how convenient that 30 minutes before the devil's supposed to appear, you kick everyone out.
Right, because I'm like, if it's a small town, everyone knows about this.
Right.
So why is it a half hour beforehand?
Right.
Something that you knew was going to happen.
Mhm.
They've been there for hours.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Highly suspect.
I know. So the crowd had to disperse, obviously, but the story still persisted. So soon, many started to think that maybe there isn't a literal gateway here, but more like a portal. So a place where ghosts, spirits, demons, and the like can enter our plane from another.
Could you imagine if all those things, ideas about mythology, religion, all that, you get to wherever the afterlife is and there's actually a fucking gate?
And you have to go through just the gate.
I'd be pissed.
Well, they say that it's the pearly gates.
Or the gates of hell.
Right.
But I'm like...
So it is a gate.
Yeah, but I'm like, this better be a fancy fucking gate, because we have those.
What, pearly gates?
We have gates.
Yeah.
We have all different kinds of ones. Like, am I walking into one, like this one over here, or else I'm never going to get in because I can't fucking open that one.
A baby-proof gate?
A baby-proof gate. Can't open them. So...
A chain link fence gate? Padlocked gate.
Okay, so does that mean when you get there, you get a key?
Maybe it just magically opens for you.
Well, see, that's not fun.
Because if
I want, like, big gates, like, going up to a scary manor.
Yeah. If it doesn't accept you, they just stay closed. If it accepts you, they swing open. Welcome.
I feel like the afterlife needs to get more crafty.
Bring that to them when you go.
Okay. Suggestion box.
So it is also said that the cemeteries where where witches, could be ghosts, but witches and cults will gather to practice dark rituals.
I feel like ghosts at a cemetery is a fucking given.
Yeah. So now we have witches and cults.
That makes
also a
more
given.
sense.
Oh.
And also, yeah, a given, but not as common.
And that even today, mysterious residents will guard Stull from any unnecessary disturbances.
Mysterious residents?
Mm-hmm.
Mysterious residents. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Does that mean these residents aren't actual residents?
It could be. It could be that they have like these ghostly things that are protecting the cemetery so that bad people can't come into it.
Mysterious. So it's like someone from out of town comes and this resident is like, you can't come here. And then
Pretty much.
they tell someone else who isn't a resident and they're like, that person is not.
I don't know.
You're leaving me with a lot of questions today.
I know. It's a spooky place. A lot of questions.
It's fine. I'm going to leave you with questions too. So
I have no doubt of that at all. So it is said that on the full moon, witches will gather here near an old well. Not the same well as our first story, just a different old well. And they'll cast spells to lure young lovers to hell.
why?
I don't know, because they want people there. There's apparently even a
Specifically lovers, though?
Yeah, specifically. There's apparently even a tombstone on the property that bears the name Witch, but spelled Wittich. Wittich. And that tombstone is the place where the devil visits. So more
Because
on
it's
this.
similarly close to the spelling of witch?
Yeah, Wittich. You just have to mix things around a little bit. But phonetically, it's witch, is how it's pronounced. So more on this grave. So the grave does have the name Witch on it, and it's that of Anna Witch, who died in 1910 at the age of 78. She had several children who didn't make it to adulthood. On the grave, there are also the names of John and Sarah, believed to be her children, with dates of death listed as 1869 and 1870. But there is also said to be a grave that belongs to Baby Witch. Literally Baby Witch. Presumably a child of Anna's who didn't survive past infancy. No dates are given for Baby Witch, but some speculate that that grave is that of the witch baby, but witch, Witch.
That's too obvious. He would never go to that one.
The devil.
It's too obvious. He's clearly trying to stay incognito. That's why he had the police come. So why would he go to this tombstone that says witch? He's going to go to the one that says, like, Bernard.
So ghost hunters who have investigated here have claimed to catch EMF recordings near her grave that have said things like, quote, get off my bones, and watch where you're walking.
Yeah, because I'm sure that ghost is like, get the fuck off my grave.
Right. Another theory goes that the witch hated her husband and was unfortunately buried right next to him. So usually a pile of dirt is seen on her grave as if she's trying to push his grave away.
That's funny.
I support it.
Me too.
There is also a tombstone that has a tree growing through it. So this is said to be the tomb of a baby. Satan's baby, to be precise. That's why it's believed to be Baby Witch. His and a witch's baby. Baby Witch grave. The grave that he visits. It is said that when the child was born, he was so, quote, deformed that he only lived a few days, and the body was buried right there in Stull. Some say
well, this is a small town, and if they didn't disperse, then, you know.
Kind of what we talked about. So some say that his ghost still walks the grounds and appears as a werewolf-like boy.
The baby's thing.
The baby's ghost is a werewolf-like boy.
Maybe the witch cheated on the husband with the werewolf.
Cheated on the devil.
Yeah. Because where the fuck is this werewolf shit coming from?
I don't know. But it was once photographed peering from behind a tree. So maybe it's him, or there's just another werewolf-like boy, because it said that there is a 10-year-old boy, a ghost, who can change into a dog, a cat, or a wolf, perhaps even a werewolf. So if it is a different boy, here's his story. So according to the legend, this boy is covered in long red hairs and has 2 rows of teeth. But he was different from how he should have looked in this normal town. So he wasn't treated like a normal boy. His parents put him outside on a long leash. They treated him like a wild animal and only fed him scraps of food. At the age of 10, he bit his own hand off to escape. He went on a murderous rampage and killed everyone who he encountered on his way. His spree only stopped when he was killed by a farmer. Now, during the fall and spring equinox, dangerous forces and orbs gather around his unmarked grave.
Maybe to keep him in there.
Maybe. Also, that tree that goes through the grave was once used as the gallows for condemned witches.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, when you say go through, is that trunk or root?
I think trunk.
Okay.
Because one of the tombs is like cracked or tombstones cracked in half.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the early 1900s, a local man went missing. He was later found hanging from that very tree with his neck broken.
So did he do it? Did somebody else do it?
No one knows what happened with him. And it is said that back when there were more than just 2 trees in the whole graveyard, they had been planted in the form of a pentagram.
Oh,
What were you thinking?
thinking there's still only 2.
There are only 2 now.
But I was thinking, for whatever reason, my mind was saying that there's 1 now. There was 2, now there's 1.
No.
And so when you said that, I'm like, how do you do that with 2 trees?
No, they had many more trees.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the Evangelical Emmanuel Church. So there is also
Where the stairs are.
Yeah.
Got it.
So there's a legend that the church that once stood here was possessed by the devil. So we have the stairs, we have the devil possessing the church. So the church was said to
Which
always...
came first, the church or the stairs? Did the devil come up the stairs and curse the church?
Did it go down to Georgia?
I hate you.
So the church was said to always look freshly built, though it was an old church. And it was strong. So it was said that, okay, there are 2 versions for this, and they're both kind of stupid. So it is said that if 2 glasses were held in the shape of a cross, okay, so you hold them
Glasses
in the shape of a cross,
like that.
like bottles,
Okay.
like beer bottles, let's say,
Okay.
held in the shape of a cross, and then
Can't believe
thrown.
we're bringing beer bottles into a church.
You're not bringing them in; you're bringing them on the outside. Holy ground. So if they were thrown at the church, the building would suffer no damage, but the bottles, no matter how strong they were, would shatter. Duh. So other stories said that if those bottles were instead held like an inverted cross, then thrown at the church, the bottle would not shatter.
This definitely sounds like it could be easily debunked.
I know.
And or proven.
Yeah. Because you could try it the inverted way.
This is something that I could try out.
You want to throw beer bottles at a church possessed by
If
the
all
devil?
that's going to happen is a glass break or not break, yeah, I'm good.
I'll get into more why we wouldn't want to go here.
Okay.
So at some point, not this part, the next bullet. So at some point, the church lost its roof, but it said that when it would rain, no rain
Raise
would...
the roof.
God. No rain would fall within the borders of the church. So it could be downpour raining, there's no roof, but if you're inside the church, you're not going to get wet.
That's weird.
I know.
That's even weird when it happens naturally outside.
I know. Yeah.
So,
So this is why we wouldn't want to go there, because sometimes the church can be used as a warning.
Mhm.
So it said that if you were to count more than 7 windows on the church, you were in danger and needed to leave the area immediately.
Because there's not supposed to be 7 windows?
There's supposed to be 7.
Oh.
If you count more than 7...
Oh, you said more. I missed that part.
Yeah, no, if you count more than 7 windows on the church, you're in danger. Don't know from what, but you gotta leave.
I mean, it's because you threw a fucking bottle at the house.
We count ones that have glass, ones that don't have glass. So the church no longer stands. So it was bulldozed in March of 2002, and now is nothing more than a pile of rubble. But so an interesting fact, the church was completely demolished. However, the property owners said that they never authorized anyone to do it. So who destroyed the church?
Probably the government that said, tough shit, we don't have to get your authorization.
But it's on their property, so you technically would. I don't know. Weird laws in Kansas. So there's also a road that was once known as Devil's Road in the area.
Did it go to the staircase?
No.
Well, that's a disappointment.
It was like right next to it, though. Like it went through Stull.
Mhm.
So the road no longer exists today, but can be seen on old maps of Stull.
Huh.
So it gained this reputation as being a cursed area because back in the early 1900s, a young boy, Oliver Bonmeyer, was accidentally killed when he wandered into a field that his father was burning. So how they would do it was to like kind of start the land over again to make it fertile for crops. They would burn the land.
Yeah, that's why we had the Dust Bowl.
Right. Right. So the dad was doing this, and his son wandered into the land, was burned to death.
Mm.
Also, along this road is where that man who was hanged was found. So that tree was along this road.
I thought I was in the cemetery.
This road used to go through this whole Stull area.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So both of these deaths were said to have been in relation to the Dock Prince. More rumor goes that if you step on Oliver's tombstone, you will go straight to hell.
You step on a crack, you might break your mother's back.
Step on a tomb, you go to hell.
Step in a tomb, you're back in your mom's womb.
Ew. There is also a woman in a white dress, obviously, who is typically seen the night before Halloween on what was once this road. It is said that the woman lures drivers to their death along the highway's edge, never to be seen again.
So is it like there's still remnants of the road.
I think it's just that people know where the road was.
Okay.
And so it's like
But it's
those
like-
habitual hauntings where they still kind of go along something, even though it's no longer there.
So it might be like buildings or forest or whatever on top of it.
Yeah.
You might not actually see a literal road.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, weird fact, an article claimed that in 1993 or 1995, differing reports, Pope John Paul II was flying to Colorado. So,
Okay.
consulting our map, Colorado is next to Kansas.
Right. I always think Wyoming is Colorado, and it's not.
No. So he forced his plane to fly a different route as he refused to fly over Stull due to the alleged activity there and the fact that it was considered unholy ground. And he didn't want to fly over unholy ground.
Well, then
The
I don't
Vatican
even know
will
why
not-
the hell you're coming to the United States in the first place.
Right. The Vatican will not approve or disprove this. So it's just a fun fact we have.
Well, okay. Also, side note, this was Episcopalian church?
Evangelical.
Evangelical? What does a Catholic person care?
Oh, he doesn't care, but he knows that the ground in Stull is considered unholy. He's not going to that church. He's going to Colorado.
No, I know, but I'm thinking if it came from this church that's not a Catholic church.
Oh, it didn't come just from this church. It's just the whole Stull area is haunted.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got it.
There just happens to be a really creepy church there.
Understood. Okay.
So-
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Thank you. Smelling what I'm stepping in. I hate that one.
Yeah, I don't like that one. So
Joe says it a lot and I hate it.
I'm going to go with what mine was.
Yours was much better. So all of these legends did nothing but grow, and by 1989, Halloween nights at the cemetery had become so overwhelming that the Douglas County Sheriff's Department had to station deputies outside of the cemetery to send people away.
Fucking ruin it for everybody else.
Anyone-
Now we can't prove it.
Anyone who was caught on the property ended up getting a ticket. The increase in police presence in 1989 came in response to 1988 when 500 people came to the cemetery on Halloween, hoping to catch a glimpse of the devil, causing damage to the church and the gravestones.
See, motherfuckers.
So now we
Don't be
can go on
assholes.
to the hauntings,
What were everything before?
the legends.
Oh my God.
Mostly anyone who has visited has experienced an uncomfortable feeling while here, like it has a spooky, eerie, ominous aura
I
surrounding
too
it.
feel uncomfortable when I walk into church.
There have been stories of vehicles moving by themselves and some just stopping altogether, as well as strange winds that blow in the wrong direction.
People whose car move by themselves, I am convinced, make that up because they're embarrassed they didn't put their car in park.
So there's a story of two boys who went to visit. As they were exploring, a strong wind started to blow seemingly out of nowhere. This freaked them out, so they ran back to their car, only to find that it had been moved to the other side of the highway and was now facing the opposite direction.
See, they forgot to put it in park.
But then how would it go?
Because it's windy and the wind's spinning around.
Some strong wind.
They have tornadoes that are blowing around at 300 miles an hour.
True. A man also felt this weird wind when he was inside of the church before it was cut down or bulldozed.
Cut down.
Cut down. A gust of wind so strong knocked him over, keeping him on the ground, making it impossible for him to move for some time. When the wind lightened up, he left that church as fast as possible. People have reported hearing blood-curdling screams and unearthly noises coming from the woods nearby. And some visitors who have visited within the past few years have warned anyone else interested in going to avoid the tree line. They offered the warning, saying that they went too close and a, quote, dark presence has been following them since.
If there is anything that's haunted in a forest,
Don't go to it.
correct.
Yeah.
Like automatically it becomes creepy because you can only see so far into the forest. And then when it gets dark, you can't see it all.
And there are 9,000 places to hide.
Correct.
People have reports of seeing a black dog walking back and forth across the road, and some have even reported the dog jumping on the hood of their car, leaving scratch marks behind. Obviously, this leads many to believe that the dog is a hellhound. People have witnessed spirits returning from the graves. Orbs appear in many photos, even some with misty figures in them. Some who have been brave enough to visit have reported being chased out of the town by pickup trucks, with some of these trucks trailing the visitors for miles. So that could be the mysterious residents.
Okay.
Some visitors have reported being grabbed by something invisible. Others have suffered memory loss, like going down the stairs and coming back up like 2 weeks later. Some who have visited broke down in tears the moment they left the cemetery for unknown reasons.
Because they were probably so fucking scared.
Probably. A group who visited was exploring, as one does. As they were walking around, they saw orange smoke coming from the cemetery. So they were planning on walking over to it. But as they were making their way there, they saw a sign that the Stull United Methodist Church had out front. I don't know where this church is in relation to like how far the cemetery is. But
Especially because it wasn't it a evangelical church?
No, this one's a United Methodist Church.
Right, I know. But
No, this is just a different church.
But same cemetery.
Near the cemetery.
Okay.
So my thought is that they parked kind of far away and they're walking to get there.
Mhm.
They see this orange smoke way off in the distance, but they know that's the cemetery. And they're passing a church.
Okay.
So the church that they're passing had a sign out front that said, quote, "Satan always uses a lure. Don't take the bait."
I mean,
The group was thoroughly freaked out and immediately went back to their car, believing it was a sign that Satan was trying to lure them in.
the timing would be insane.
Right, which is why they said, no.
Let's not fuck with fate at that point.
Right. People have had rocks thrown at them from the woods. Others have left with 3 scratches on their body. You know, the 3 scratches are the mocking the Holy Trinity. Okay, so apparently even Ariana Grande herself had an experience at Stull Cemetery.
So that makes it legitimate.
Let me tell you about this. Okay.
Please do.
She was in Kansas City, and as she was on her way there, she visited this Stull area, because I guess she's into super haunted things too. So there's a haunted castle near Stull that she visited, and they eventually went to Stull Cemetery.
Okay.
So she said that when she got there, she got this sick, overwhelming feeling. She and her crew also started to smell sulfur, which we know is a sign of a demon.
Or, well, water.
Well, in this case, a demon. A fly also randomly appeared in the car, so same thing, sign of a demon.
A fly?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Beelzebub is also known as the king, like the Lord of the Flies.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that part is no. What I'm saying is flies are fucking everywhere.
Do you remember Miss Simmons' stories that she used to tell us?
Not particularly.
Oh,
yes, I do.
Yeah. There was one with flies where every time she would stay at whoever's house, she would wake up with like all these dead flies around her.
If there's a fuck ton of flies on you, okay.
Oh, yeah. No, there was just one in this situation.
But that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, no.
But so the smell of sulfur mixed with the one fly, they decided that it was time to leave. So she said that she rolled down her window and apologized for being there and disrupting the peace. What?
Just like, that's like a parody. You know, you got Scary Movie and they know that flies are the sign of the devil and they just do one.
Yep.
Oh my God, it's the devil.
So she said that she did take a photo as they were leaving, and the photo had 3 distinct faces in it.
Ooh.
She said, quote, "the faces of textbook demons."
Textbook. There's a whole textbook on this. Wow.
So she said she deleted the photo, though, because she had tried to send it to her manager, but it wouldn't go through. An error said, quote, "this file can't be sent. It's 666 megabytes." She also apparently has a whole album in her phone of like scary photos of things that she takes. And
I mean, she's been to all sorts of places, so I'm sure she's seen all kinds of shit.
Yeah, but like she like seeks out these haunted places. And so she deleted that photo. She said she ultimately deleted it after weird things started happening to her. So
the person take a picture of the picture.
Oh, I don't know.
Because she was with people.
Yeah, I don't know. So the person interviewing her asked what weird things were happening. So she said that one night, as she was lying down to go to sleep, she started to hear a rumble really close to her ears.
Well, she's so tiny, maybe she was hungry.
With her stomach growling. She opened her eyes and the sound stopped immediately. So she closed her eyes again. This is when she started hearing whispers. Every time she closed her eyes, she also started to see really disturbing images with, quote, red shapes. She called a friend who she had been speaking to before she went to bed and told them that she was scared and didn't want to go to sleep that night. As she moved over on her bed, she saw a massive black matter, like a cloud of something black, sitting on her bed. Before she knew it, she had fallen asleep, and when she woke up, the thing was gone.
Fell asleep with that thing on your bed?
There are sometimes when people will be like, I've read stories where they're in such terrifying situations that their body just kind of passes out.
Usually I see those things when I'm waking up, not when I'm going to sleep.
Ew.
Yeah.
So her friend stayed with her the next night because she was too scared to be alone.
See, this is what would happen if you made me watch a scary movie. Just saying.
That's fine. I told you I'd stay with you.
No, but I mean all the other stuff that's happening to her?
No, it wouldn't.
Uh-huh.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bring like a sage. We'll sage your house.
So we're not watching a scary movie in my house.
We'll watch it here. Okay, so her friend said that she felt paralyzed in the bed and also described seeing this black matter just like what Ariana had seen. So Supernatural, which we love, has set scenes at Stull Cemetery.
I have not seen a single full episode.
I know. Well, it's because the first episode you watched with us just happened to be like an insect episode, which was not a good introduction for you.
No, fuck that. I was like, no, they were both, Joe and Lauren were both like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. I've watched like Ghost Whisper and all that kind of good stuff. Like, it's cool. And then it was all bugs everywhere. And I said, I'm going to go. You guys have fun. I will not be able to look at this entire episode because bugs freak me out.
Yeah, that wasn't a great one.
No.
So Eric Kripke, the lead writer of the show, tweeted in 2016, quote, SPN, Supernatural, fun fact. The reason Sam and Dean are from Lawrence, Kansas, proximity to the urban legend of Stull Cemetery. So he literally located them in Lawrence, Kansas because of how close they were to this creepy cemetery.
That's
because,
cool.
like I said, it's between Lawrence and Topeka.
Mm-hmm.
And spoiler alert for the show, skip ahead like 15 seconds if you don't want the spoiler. So for the season 5 finale swan song, it includes archangels and Lucifer battling for power in the middle of Stull Cemetery. So it's also seen again in season 6, episode 1, season 11, episode 10, and season 15, episode 8. So they've gotten a lot of permission to be here, but they film a lot of their scenes in Stull Cemetery. Which, as I was doing my research, I told Joe. So guess what we've watched the past 2 days?
Supernatural.
Yep.
Can't even give me shit for comfort show when y'all are watching that shit all the time.
Not all the time. It's just really good. So the band Urge Overkill also used the name and photo for a record of theirs. Urge Overkill. Yes, it's a band. Never heard of them before. But they used the photo and the name Stull Cemetery for one of their records. So a final warning that I will give to everyone. Though there seems to be alert to the cemetery, not for us, but for some people. Keep in mind that trespassing is illegal, and the residents aren't afraid to call the cops, who aren't afraid to arrest trespassers. Trespassing can result in 6 months of jail time or a fine of up to $1,000.
Yeah, not worth it.
So we can enjoy the frights and legends of Stull Cemetery from afar.
Yeah, and you might have one of those mysterious residents too, which would just really fuck your shit up. So
yeah,
not a good time.
Like I said, I've been watching Wentworth. And the more I watch it, and the more I watch this kind of shows, and I listen to people who have been to jail, because it's fascinating to me, I realize I would not survive there. So I will not be going here, which could result in 6 months of prison.
Correct.
And a $1,000 fine. I could do so much more with $1,000.
I don't think you would get the 6 months in prison.
I would hope not. I'd look at them and I'd start crying. And they'd be like, oh, you wouldn't do well there.
I think they'd give you the fine.
I'd prefer the fine.
You might even probably just get a warning.
I would hope I would just get a warning. I'll be like, it was for my podcast. Because I tried to find like videos of people investigating there. There's none.
Because
they're not allowed to be there.
Yeah.
I was like, well, maybe someone got like special permission. No, there's no special permission given.
What we need to do, or what other people should do, not necessarily us, is you got to find someone that's cool that has family in there.
Right.
That will take you in themselves.
Yes.
Yo, I would fucking make bank off of some shit like that. Like, you know those people who live like near an event of some kind?
Oh my God, yes.
They'll charge like $50 to park in their driveway?
Yup.
I would be that person.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. Oh, you want to go in this cemetery? Cool. My great grandparents are buried here. I'll take you.
Yeah.
For $50.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
I would 100% do that. Like the festivals we go to.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's Stull Cemetery.
I'm still hung up on the other one.
The Devil's Chair.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll do some research for you.
Please.
You know I will never say no to doing research.
There's got to be more to that. Like, why do they think they disappeared? Have other people disappeared? Okay. Is it just like a crazy legend like this one?
Probably.
Or has more shit happened?
I'll have to look and let you know.
And they were never seen again, obviously. But then what happens next?
And then what?
Great story.
Thank
Half
you.
of it, I'm pretty sure, is bullshit.
I mean, is any good legend fully true?
No, I like the ones that like you hear and you're like, really?
Yeah.
No, that's not a thing, but okay.
Yep.
Those are the fun ones.
So yeah, Stull Cemetery.
I like it.
Thank you.
I do. I don't want to go.
No. We're not allowed to, so that kind of limits our ability to do any of it.
So that's what I'm starting to realize lately, too, with these cemeteries and shit like that. I'm like, eventually we're not even able to cover anything that's haunted about them because nothing new will have happened because it's...
That's why there were, like, very few hauntings, like, people's experiences.
Yeah, those are hard to find.
Yeah. Sometimes they're super easy, but then sometimes a lot of them were people like, I live here, it's not haunted. It's like, great, don't comment on this haunted page telling us it's not haunted. Go somewhere else.
Or like, they're like, I've lived here my whole life and I've never heard of this. Well, maybe you live under a rock, so.
Right, and you clearly didn't do research, so.
Correct. Maybe you weren't meant to know.
Mm-hmm. The universe is telling you stay away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because you're a non-believer.
Shun the non-believer. Shun.
Candy Moon.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. All right, Mackenzie, after our 20 minutes of trying to look up the longitude and latitude of Kansas and India, what story do you have for us? Oh, and by the way, they're not on the same line.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Oh, well.
Doesn't mean that's not where the two gates are, but makes it less like, I feel like they gotta be on the same line.
Why?
I don't know. Just seems like it would make more sense.
I mean, in our minds, yes.
Maybe they're both on a ley line, but not the same one.
Ley line, yes.
Mm.
Chew. That's it.
I watch creepy stuff that's history-based
So proud.
and not spooky-based. This is Unsolved. Just thought I'd get that out in the open. A true one-of-a-kind classic. That's an oxymoron. It can't be a one-of-a-kind classic.
Oh. I wish we had videos so that people could see when you or I like do the open mouth, like, you got it?
And the other one doesn't. Yeah. So we have a timeline. We have a sketchy backstory. We have an answer that seems obvious, theories that make sense but don't completely work, information that is unconfirmable, and definitely leaving you with more questions than answers, which...
One of your cases, this sounds like something right up your line.
Alley.
Alley.
Not line.
Right up your line.
Let's begin, shall we? So before we dive in...
What?
I thought it was really funny when I did that. I was like, let's begin, shall we? So before we dive in...
Well, see, the thing is, that's just something you say, so it sounds so normal.
But I said we should get started. And then I said, wait, before we get started.
Again, yeah.
Oh.
Very Mackenzie things.
No, it was funny.
Just Kenzie things.
Oh. So before we dive in, I'm going to explain to you how this information will be presented. The facts of this case will be shared in the order that they were reported in by like dates. So you will most likely have questions, but each report that I'm going to go through will continue to add a little bit more information each time.
Okay.
So the idea is that you will have all of the things that have been reported about this case, officially, unofficially, whatever you want to put it as, before I go into the theories. Okay?
Okay.
Some of the theories will kind of be briefly mentioned throughout the investigation, but don't worry, we're going to break them down into more specifics later on.
Okay.
Feel free to ask questions anytime. Feel free for any information to be repeated, although I do a good enough job of repeating without...
Repeating.
Correct.
Yeah.
Restating.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now we can get started.
Okay.
So, first report comes from October 9th, 1974.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay.
I remember 1974.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Gary R. Simmons, 32, president and owner of Simmons Petroleum Corporation in Overland Park, Kansas, disappeared Tuesday, October 15th, 1974, which was my mom's 14th birthday.
Oh.
Yeah. We were just talking the other day about one person's birthday is...
Another person's worst day ever.
Correct.
Yeah.
After writing a $30,000 check for a stranger. Today, that would be $190,800.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he writes this, gives it to a stranger, and then disappears.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the gist.
Okay. Well, yeah. Case done.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much the overview. Like, if you were going to do like a little one-sentence summary, that'd be it. Captain Ronald Jackson, the Overland Park chief of detectives, shared with reporters that they were looking for the man who cashed the check, who has also seemed to have disappeared.
Oh, okay.
Captain Jackson also reported that Simmons was not acquainted with the man, but he didn't say how he got this information. Nancy Simmons, Gary's wife, told investigators that the last time she saw her husband was when he left for his office at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. His secretary, Mrs. Jody Miller, said a man entered the office around 10:30 Tuesday morning and spoke privately with Simmons. A short time later, the two men left the office together. Mrs. Miller said that Simmons called her around 11 and told her he was going to buy a horse and directed her to write a $30,000 check to the man who had left the office with him.
A horse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The man picked up the check around 11:30 and cashed it at a bank. Officials said that the check had Simmons' official signature on it. The man wanted the money in $100 bills, but had to go to two banks to round up that many hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
So far, Simmons' car has not been found, which is a Lincoln Continental, and police are still investigating possible last known whereabouts. Captain Jackson told the media, quote, "We have no proof of foul play, but there might have been. This could be nothing, but we have to treat it as serious."
Mm-hmm.
Top 10 dumbest quote we've said on here. For sure. He goes on to say, quote, "Both men have disappeared without a trace." Next report comes on October 26th, 1974, 11 days missing.
Okay.
You're going to be so impressed with my math.
Wow.
Not this one, later on.
Okay. I was going to say, good job here. 11 is a big number.
Counted. With my fingers.
That's more than 2 hands.
I know. A $25,000 reward, or what would be equivalent to $159,000 today, which when they still offer you a $25,000 reward today, you're getting chump change. Just saying. Was being offered for information leading to the safe return of Gary Simmons. The information I just shared from before is also summarized in this article, but there's a couple of new pieces of information. Police said the man Simmons left his office with was driven to a truck stop by a friend the day after Simmons was reported missing, so the 16th, and has still not been heard from since. So Simmons was last seen and heard from on the 15th, this guy 16th.
Okay.
Police said that the donor of the reward was unidentified friends of Simmons, so insignificant.
Yeah.
So this next one is on January 3rd, 1975, which is 78 days missing, or 11 weeks and a day.
Wow.
Oh, it gets crazy. Police Captain Ronald Jackson reported that the reward was set to expire at midnight, December 31st, and that he was informed by the bank holding the money that the deadline had not been extended.
Oh.
The detective's chief also said that only 2 people had called with information about the disappearance of Gary Simmons.
They didn't put that reward out there for very long.
No. When reviewing the information known so far, the article said, quote, Simmons was last seen leaving his office with Tommy R. Dixon, 42, of Johnson County. So we now have a name of a man, Tommy Dixon. Presumably to look at this so-called horse that Simmons was interested in buying. And Dixon is now also officially listed as missing.
Okay.
So both men are missing. So April 23rd and 24th, 1975, which is 189 days missing, 27 weeks and 6 3/4 months. A 1968 Cadillac and a 1974 Lincoln Continental Mark IV were found in the Missouri River April 22nd, 1975. Police had received a tip that the Cadillac had been dumped in the river on April 20th. The 2 cars were pulled from the river near a boat ramp in La Bonette Park in Sugar Creek. The Lincoln was identified as Gary Simmons' missing car and the one that he was last seen driving on the day he disappeared. So
Weird.
It's interesting because the tip was about the Cadillac.
Right.
They had been searching for a really long time trying to find it. They actually pull out the Lincoln first and unintentionally found it.
Yeah.
And then pulled out.
Then found the Cadillac.
Yeah, like 45 minutes later.
Weird.
Right?
I wonder if they had pulled out the Cadillac first, if they would have kept looking.
Probably not, because that's would have been the one.
Right, the one in question.
Exactly. Ooh, creepy.
I
Didn't think about that.
know.
Did not think about that. The Cadillac was traced to an Elixir Springs, which sounds like a fancy place to live.
Right. I live in Elixir Springs. I'm from very far away, Phil.
Elixir. We make elixirs. In springs. Our springs give us our elixir. Okay.
Your face with each time, Sue. More and more crazed.
So this is where the Cadillac was traced to. I forgot I already said that part. But the people who lived there were a couple, and they had moved away in October, the same month that Simmons and Dixon disappeared. Police said they traced the couple through a number on an inspection sticker. They had yet to locate where the couple moved to in October. And Captain Ronald Barney of the Jackson County Sheriff's Patrol said that the fact that the sticker was issued to the couple does not mean that they still own the car.
Right.
They weren't sure of the exact day the couple moved out either, so it could have been before this guy went missing. But pretty much they believe that it was really only just a coincidence that they found both vehicles in the same location. They really didn't think they had one could possibly have anything to do with the other.
Well, I would think they would, because they're the 2 vehicles of the 2 men who met.
Just one vehicle belonged to one man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going over who they found out this other car happened to be registered to.
Oh, okay. My first thought when you said it was I thought it belonged to the other man who went missing.
No.
Okay.
Then yes, you're right. That would be very stupid for them to think that. No.
Okay.
They were looking in to see if maybe there was a connection.
Gotcha.
But after doing that research, they went to assume it's probably just a coincidence.
Okay.
So the family of Gary Simmons had hired a private investigator to try to figure out what happened. Gary Compton, who was a partner in Compton & Bell Paralegal Services, only worked the case for a very short time, but went to the site when he first heard Simmons' car had been found. He reported, quote, there was no deterioration or rust on the car. He goes on to say, you usually see rust when a car is in the water for a long time. A Lincoln is built better than most cars, but I don't know.
Well, I guess it depends what part of the car, because I know there's, like, engine parts of the car where not long it'll rust, but it doesn't mean anything bad for the car.
I'm assuming he said on,
Right.
not
On the
in.
car could be completely different.
Okay, so this says it usually takes years
Oh,
for
wow.
rust to appear on the car.
On the car. Okay.
hmm So we know it's been, but of course it's been less than a year. It's been 6 months.
Right.
So-
So there should not be rust on the
There-
car is what we're saying.
Correct, because it's only been 6 months
Right.
that he's been gone. So
Right.
again, top 10 stupid quote. Now that we know the science. The windows were intact and there were no scrapes to indicate that the car had been pushed in by another vehicle. There were also no apparent signs of violence, although it's been submerged in water, so who knows.
Right.
Steel bars were used to pry open the doors, and officers dug gingerly to clear the silt, which was sifted for physical evidence. Like the...
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay, just make sure.
No, my thoughtful thought look, wow, was they said that like a car didn't push it in or like another vehicle didn't push it in. Did they do the thing where you put like a rock on the gas?
We'll get there.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much. Mrs. Simmons said the cigars were the brand her husband smoked. Also recovered from the car were about 5 stereotape cartridges, 2 coffee mugs, and other assorted small unidentifiable items. From the amount of silt in the cars, it was apparent that Simmons' car was in the water much longer than the Cadillac.
Interesting.
So I think that's also why they figured it was just a coincidence, given that...
Right.
Yeah.
But also, what a random spot in a river for 2 cars to be.
Kenneth Carnes, Jackson County Sheriff, said the boat ramp in the park made the site a popular dumping ground for cars, weapons, and occasional bodies.
How often? My
Popular.
goodness.
So
I guess.
yeah.
Like our one in Hawaii where it was like the popular dumping ground is over by this volcano. It's like, no.
Shouldn't be. That's not a very good dumping ground if it's popular.
No, exactly.
But the car was being sent to the Regional Criminalistic Laboratory to test for fingerprints and other clues, but they were pretty sure that they weren't going to find that stuff.
Right. If it's
Because
in the
it's been
water.
underwater. But, still
Right,
see what
right.
they can find.
Do what you gotta do.
Captain Fred McDaniel, who was a Kansas City police officer, said the testing wouldn't reveal how long the car had been underwater, but the odometer didn't have any additional miles on it than what would be expected if the car was dumped in the river right after Simmons went missing.
Oh, okay.
The FBI began assisting local officers. Captain Jackson said, since the car was found in Missouri and was last seen in Kansas, this sort of makes it a federal violation.
Oh.
An FBI spokesperson, and I said spokesman, and I said, fuck you. So I said spokesperson, 1974. 5. An FBI spokesperson said that agents were maintaining a liaison with Jackson County and Overland authorities, but the agency was not officially on the case.
Mm-hmm.
Additional details about the case were included when the information about the car was reported. We know that the last person Simmons was seen with was Tommy Dixon. The article reports that Dixon is specifically from Stillwell, close to your name, in Jackson County, and he's a contractor. He does all sorts of odd jobs, but mostly does painting work. Dixon reportedly was sinking into debt. Both men were horse lovers and members of Heart of America Appaloosa Horse Association in Johnson County.
Wow.
So the horse is not that random.
Right. Now. But first when you're like, he's gonna buy a horse. What?
I know, as I was putting it in, I was like, she's gonna be so confused. This is great. That's why I put the little disclaimer at the top. I was like, there's gonna be a lot of holes to start.
Yeah.
Don't worry, they'll get filled in, more or less. The morning that Dixon showed up at Simmons' office, he had been expected that Tuesday morning at an automobile salvage yard in Independence, which is in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about Kansas City in here. They didn't specify which one it was. I don't fucking care, because they should and they don't, and that's on them.
Yeah.
He had just purchased some junk cars in Waverly, Missouri, which is weird if he's going into debt, but okay. Originally, he was to go to Waverly that morning with a man from the salvage yard. Bob's Salvage is about 5 miles southwest of the site where Simmons' car was recovered. Dixon did not arrive that day on the 15th until 5 or 5:30. So he was supposed to arrive in the morning, but he didn't end up showing up until the evening. The worker had told police that Dixon helped workers load some junk cars, then sat in a trailer drinking iced tea with them. About 11 p.m., he said he was going to call home, and the worker said Dixon never returned after that.
Interesting.
Dixon didn't return to the salvage.
Like he left to go call home and then didn't
come
return.
back.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Dixon didn't return to the salvage yard the next day, so 10:16, or his home that Tuesday night, 10:15. The afternoon of October 16th, after Simmons' wife had reported her husband missing, police found Dixon's pickup truck parked at the Quality Oil Company, Inc. truck stop on US 69 near Stillwell in Johnson County. So now they found both cars. One was in water, one is at a truck stop.
Okay.
And it's been there for this long.
Right.
Captain Jackson said, quote, he left the keys in the ignition just like he was going to come back. But he never did. Mrs. Dixon had not filed a missing persons report on her husband because she was not worried about him being missing until he had been missing for several days. Dixon had been gone from home without telling his family for several days earlier in the summer when he went with a friend to operate concessions at a rock concert or carnival, who knows, in Sedalia, Missouri.
Why not tell your family?
That's what I said.
He'd be coming home and I'd be like, ooh, you want to be in this house, you have a lot to say.
I get communication was slightly limited, but you had phones.
Yeah, you had phones.
You had mail.
Yeah.
So, unless it was like...
if it was something he did,
yeah,
then I could get it.
And like if he always came back and then she didn't have to worry.
Right, I don't know.
It's definitely weird.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things I'm going to say and we're never going to talk about it again.
Okay.
Which I'm like, how is this not part of the conversation?
Right.
Especially what I'm just about to tell you, because this shit doesn't make a lick of sense. Well, this does. It doesn't make sense that it wasn't brought up later. So this was reported March 2nd, 1976. So this is 504 days missing, 72 weeks, 14-ish months, or a year plus 2-ish months.
Right.
Police said a young man riding a bicycle discovered a badly decomposed body on February 29th. It was a leap year that year.
Oh.
In Sugar Creek near the Missouri River. The body was found lying on a green blanket in a wooded area about 1 mile west of Labanette Park. Authorities checked dental records and said that the decomposed body was not the oil exec, Gary Simmons. Dr. Bonita Peterson, the Jackson County medical examiner, said authorities were still trying to identify the body. And we don't know.
So just a body.
Yep. We don't know whose body. They didn't say anything about it being compared to Dixon.
Solid. Good.
I never could find anything else about it. Because nothing else is really reported about this case after 1976. So here's what we know so far. Both Gary Simmons and Tommy Dixon have been reported missing.
Yes.
Both men had last been seen with each other, but we're unsure if they know each other.
Right.
It is suspected that Dixon had something to do with Simmons' disappearance, but there's nothing that conclusively confirms that theory. Dixon had been in major debt and supposedly sold Simmons a horse for $30,000. Thoughts so far, ideas on what might have happened.
Well, yeah, let me think here. Literally, I have no idea.
Right?
So Dixon is in debt. He tried to buy a car. Well, those cars.
Supposedly he bought junk cars and was supposed to pick them up.
Yeah, the junk cars.
But he's in debt.
Right.
Because he, I guess, was trying to build...
And so was that him picking those up? That would have been after he got the check.
But he never went. He never went to pick them up because he was late.
Yeah, but it would have been after he got the check, technically.
I don't know.
Oh.
I think he previously bought them and this was the plan for him to go do this and he didn't end up doing it because he went to do the check.
Right. I don't know, maybe he thought the cars could get him out of debt somehow. I don't know.
Well, so one post I read said something about him being in debt because like 2 houses he was working on were unfinished and couldn't keep up on bills. And so he was like $150,000 in debt or some shit. And I'm like,
okay,
what's 30 gonna do?
Right.
I don't know. There's
debt collector maybe. Maybe he got money from like the wrong person, like the mob or something.
Well, how does Gary fit into this then?
No, but
okay.
So he got money from the mob, okay, to like pay off his debt. And he's like, I don't have the money for you, but I can get you $30,000.
Okay.
So that's where the $30,000 is, just so we can like kind of prolong it to this. Is my theory is that he's getting these junk cars because he's going to do something with them to like flip them or something. And that's where he's thinking he's going to get all this money. Yeah. So he thinks he's going to get his money from that. So he's like, I just need a little bit more time. Then I can give you guys the money or whatever. So he would have given them the $30,000. But maybe something happened and they got mad at him. So they offed him. And then maybe they like saw this connection to this guy, Gary. And they're like, we're the mob. And then just kill him too.
How did Dixon know to go to Gary for the money?
I don't know. He met this guy and he was like, oh, horses. Like, you want a horse? Yeah, okay, I'll give you one for $30,000. Gary's just an innocent person who was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay.
Dixon is our main person who we...
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I can't actually even say no because technically we don't know. So you could be right.
I think I am. Thank you.
So needless to say,
With my 5 minutes of knowledge of this case.
yep, this case became obviously inactive, cold,
Yeah.
and no new information ever came forward. Simmons was declared legally dead in 1981. However, the case was ramped up again in 1991. Almost exactly 17 years to the day that Gary Simmons disappeared, a skeleton was found in a cave in Independence, Missouri. I know. It's weird.
Yeah.
On October 16th, he
Oh.
disappeared on the 15th, so
Mhm.
like literally to the day.
Yeah.
1991, in Leeds Industrial District, an amateur cave explorer discovered the clothed skeleton while exploring a cave.
Gross.
Right?
That would make me never want to... I would never do it in the first place, but this would make me never want to do it.
Correct. It also makes me think of Without a Pal, when they were looking for the treasure and they find the skeleton of the guy.
Oh, yeah. We recently watched that like a month ago.
That movie's a great movie. So funny.
It is funny.
Police found Gary Simmons' ID and the wallet that was discovered in the pants of the remains.
Right.
Dental records later confirmed that they were, in fact, Gary Simmons. Or it was, in fact, Gary Simmons. And police said he died of a gunshot wound to the head.
Mob style.
They didn't specify front or back. There was a canvas cloth in the cave with Simmons, and investigators believed he was killed somewhere wrapped in the cloth and then dumped in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
The death was treated as a homicide, and police started to believe that Tommy Dixon, who had disappeared the day after Simmons, had most likely also been killed. So now we are...
Was Dixon ever declared dead as well?
Not that I saw.
Oh, okay.
He could have been, though. I do have, there is still an official missing persons file for him.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it said he was declared legally dead or not.
Interesting.
But I think he'd be, in his 90s at this point.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if, how Gary was, if he was as well.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It didn't say.
Okay.
It's interesting because they clearly think that Dixon did something.
Right.
Which is fair given the information they have.
The circumstances, yes.
But I'm he's also missing.
Right.
Right.
It
just seems like he's not as discussed.
Yeah.
And I'm but he's also missing.
Exactly. It's maybe he did do something, but he's still missing.
Right. As soon as you find out a lot about the person that's missing that you think did it.
Right.
Oh, it's weird. A lot of shit about this is weird. So the next thing that we're going to talk about was reported on October 19th and 20th in 1991. So now we're 6,205 days missing.
My Kenzie.
884 weeks, or 17 years and 4 days. During the time the media was reporting about Simmons' body being found, more information about the case and the last known days of Simmons and Dixon, and more about the men themselves was being included.
Mm-hmm.
So Gary Simmons was the father of 2 small children and lived in a nice ranch-style home in rural Overland Park. Remember, he's only 32.
Right.
Which is close to our age.
That's Joe's age.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Kids.
Kids.
One of his hobbies was horses, and he had several on his property. He also owned some cattle. He was the owner and president of Simmons Petroleum Corp., which was a chain of independent service stations that he had built from scratch. At one time, he owned 16 stations.
Wow.
In 1974, however, the energy crisis had created a shortage of gasoline, and Simmons was down to fewer than 10, which he only lost less than half.
Yeah, but still,
he's doing fine. But he expressed confidence. But he expressed confidence to his friends that he could weather the economic hardship. See?
There we go.
Bernard Craig Jr., Simmons' lawyer, said, he was a very young, dynamic man at that point in his life. I believe you could say the sky was the limit for him. While both men were part of the same horse association, relatives and investigators didn't think that the 2 men had met prior to the morning of October 15th.
Okay.
Jody Miller, Simmons' secretary, heard the businessman say to Dixon, quote, "I don't remember you," after Dixon came into the office saying he wanted to talk to Simmons about selling him the horse. When Simmons called Mrs. Miller around 11 a.m. to write the check for $30,000, Mrs. Miller said, quote, "I can very vividly remember hearing a rooster crow in the background when Mr. Simmons called." About 30 minutes later, Simmons telephoned the president of the former Santa Fe Trail State Bank in Miriam and said that Dixon would be coming in later that day to cash the check. According to the family, because Simmons had made a lot of money through his company, he was very, very concerned about being kidnapped and forced to write checks for things.
Okay.
Ronald Jackson was the chief of police in Newton, Kansas in 1991. So our guy who was the chief of detectives is now the chief of police.
Okay, because for a second I was going to say there are a lot of Jacksons.
Same. Yeah, there's a couple other ones that don't get brought up again, so you don't need to worry about them. This guy is the same one from before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because each time I hear Jackson, I want to go, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
And there's also Jackson County, which doesn't help.
Yeah.
Had said that Dixon, quote, was always on the fringe and dabbled in everything. Dixon was last seen at a truck stop in Olathe at about 3 p.m. on October 16th, 1974. Jackson said he always believed Dixon was dead because he didn't think he could have remained undercover all those years, which I disagree. You got that money? You'd be all right. It's 70s.
Oh, yeah. You could get like a new identity on every corner.
Oh my God. Especially if you're already living in a small town.
Right.
Authorities believe that Dixon was incapable of plotting Simmons' murder alone.
Okay.
Jackson said, quote, we always believed there was a third party involved because Tommy Dixon didn't have the smarts for this. Clearly, he was a cop of the 70s because his PR skills are shit. Gary Compton, the PI, said that he thought Simmons was killed because he was about to testify in a federal investigation concerning black market gasoline. More on that later. Police did not agree with this theory, though, and don't believe that Simmons was involved with illegal fuel purchasing at all.
It doesn't sound like him.
And Simmons' secretary said that Simmons purchased all his gasoline from major oil companies. The next thing that reported is on April 8th, 1992. 6,363 days missing, 909 weeks, or 17 years, 4 months, 3 weeks, and 6 days. Kansas City police believed that the discovery of Simmons' body would help them solve this 17-year-old murder. The current detective on the case was Victor Zinn, who believed that the missing link was Dixon.
Mm-hmm.
He said, quote, we're pretty sure he's the key to it. A friend of Dixon's, Tom Callahan, told police Dixon had asked for a ride to the truck stop and said he was catching a cross-country rig that night. Or that Tom Callahan name, this 1992 article is the first time I saw it.
Okay.
All we keep seeing is a friend said that he dropped him off.
Mm-hmm.
So this Tom Callahan guy, new figure, he says that he's the one who dropped him off at the truck stop because Dixon had told him that he got a job for a cross-country rig.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Also, something to note is that Unsolved Mysteries did air a segment about the Simmons case in April of 1992.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll be important later.
Okay.
So everything we've just gone over is essentially what was reported in newspapers, at least that I could find. The case is also covered on the podcast The Trail Went Cold. Most of the information talked about in the podcast I've already shared with you.
Mm-hmm.
But we are going to go through the timeline of events that the host posted on Reddit, which includes some extra little tidbits.
Okay.
But given that he provided both his sources on the podcast website and on the Reddit post, I think this guy is credible.
Okay.
Okay, so these set of events happened on October 15th, 1974.
The day
he went missing.
Right.
10:15 a.m. Gary leaves his office with Dixon, and while he doesn't tell his secretary where they're going, he says they'll probably be back within an hour. So this next 15 minutes that pass, there's going to be some extra information about the bank.
Okay.
And the phone call and all that kind of good stuff. Gary's secretary receives a phone call from Gary, where he instructs her to make out the $30,000 check to Tom Dixon,
right,
which Dixon will pick up shortly.
Yep.
Gary then places a call to J. Thomas Burcham, the president of the Santa Fe Trail Bank, knew that. He was scheduled to have a meeting there with a representative from the McKee Oil Company, as Gary had completed a business deal with them and was set to receive a payment of over $100,000.
Wow.
Which would be over $600,000 today.
Right.
Gary asks Birchman if they can postpone the meeting until 1, and the McKee representative agrees.
Mm-hmm.
11 a.m. Dixon shows up at Gary's office to retrieve the $30,000 check from his secretary and tells her he will be meeting up with Gary again so that he can get his signature.
Right.
11:30. We're going to get some new stuff. The owner of a truck stop located 10 miles from Gary's office claims that he sees Gary there, and he's pacing back and forth and appears to be waiting for someone.
Okay.
12 p.m. Burcham receives another call at the bank from Gary, who informs him that a man named Tom Dixon will be arriving shortly with a $30,000 check he had received for the purchase of a horse.
Yep.
Gary says he will not be present, but wants to grant his approval for Dixon to use the cash check. Since Gary is a friend of Birchman's and one of the bank's top customers, Burcham agrees to the request.
Okay.
He later says he did not detect anything unusual from Gary on the phone. Dixon shows up at the bank with a $30,000 check containing Gary's signature. When Bertram asks if Dixon would like to open an account, Dixon says he needs to pay off some debts and receives the entire $30,000 in cash.
So now it does have his signature.
Gary's signature, yeah. Not Dixon's.
Right.
Gary's. It
What
always
was
had
it?
Gary's.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to meet up so he could sign it, and then he said to the bank.
Yeah, that happened. They just didn't mention that on the timeline.
Oh.
Now that Dixon has brought it to the bank,
Okay.
when the guy looks at it, it's Gary's signature.
Okay.
So with the phone call and with this, he thinks it's legit.
Okay.
12:45, Bertram's secretary receives a call from Gary who says he will be a little late for the 1 o'clock meeting with the McKee oil representative. However, Gary does not show up for the meeting at all and is never heard from again.
Huh.
Yeah.
And what time was that call?
12:45.
Oh.
Yeah. Which clearly meant that he thought he was going to make it to that.
Right.
So 5 p.m., so almost 4 hours later, Dixon shows up at Bob's Salvage Yard in Independence, Missouri, which is also where the body was found, where he's friends with the owner. According to one of the owners, Bob Williams, Dixon had told them he recently purchased junk cars and was planning to meet them at the salvage yard earlier that morning so that they could go pick them up.
Yeah.
Dixon apologizes to Williams for missing their scheduled meetup and spends the next several hours hanging around the salvage yard doing odd jobs. We know all that.
Right.
11 p.m., Dixon tells Williams he's going to call home, but subsequently leaves the salvage yard without telling him and does not return that night.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're into October 16th, the next day, 1974, 11 a.m. This is new information. Brand spanking fucking new. Tom Callahan character just jumps in out of nowhere. Dixon's abandoned pickup truck is discovered at the Quality Inn Company truck stop on U.S. Route 69 with the key still in ignition.
Yep.
We know that.
Yes.
However, earlier that morning, Dixon had supposedly called a friend of his, Tom Callahan, because his truck had broken down. Callahan claims that after he picked up Dixon from the truck stop, Dixon asked if he could borrow Callahan's truck for a few hours in order to take care of some personal business.
Mm-hmm.
Callahan agrees to the request, and after Dixon drops him off at home, Dixon disappears for the next 2 hours. 11:30. When Dixon returns to Callahan's home, he informs him he has been hired to be the driver of a cross-country rig and asks for a ride to the Heart of America truck plaza located near Interstate 35. Callahan says he drives Dixon to the truck plaza and drops him off there. 3 p.m. Also new information. Dixon's wife, Shirley, receives a call from him at home where he informs her that he is coming in from Arkansas and will return home that evening.
And who said this?
Dixon's wife.
Okay, Dixon's wife.
Yeah, Dixon's wife got a call from him at 3.
Right.
Saying that he was in Arkansas, which is not across the country.
No.
And was coming home.
That's not a very long drive.
No, but it's definitely not across country.
No. I mean, maybe at those times. No.
Yeah. However, this would be the last time Dixon was confirmed to be alive and he is never heard from again. So the last time anyone hears his voice is at 3 p.m. And it's him saying that he's going to be home that evening and then never heard from or seen again. So we also have some information that comes only from the Unsolved Mysteries episode.
Okay.
Only from this.
And wait, real quick. So when he was going from Arkansas to Kansas, what car was he driving?
We don't know. Supposedly the truck.
Right.
That's, the idea is that he was on this cross-country rig, but Arkansas is not across the country.
So I was wondering if they, looked into that rig, if they found that anywhere,
Well, they don't look into the dead body either, so.
Yeah, 70s police work.
Correct. There's a lot of shit that we just don't come back to.
Jeez.
Don't come back to. So, out of fucking nowhere, a local rancher named Roy Hilton came forward with new information for Unsolved Mysteries on TV.
Yeah.
For years, the authorities assumed that Dixon's so-called horse deal was bogus and a ruse to scam Gary out of $30,000 before he was murdered. However, Hilton knew both men personally and claimed that he saw Gary at the Whispering Downs Horse Ranch on the morning of October 15th, 1974.
Okay.
Hilton said that Gary showed him the horse that he was planning to buy, and he also witnessed Gary make 2 phone calls from the ranch. The call to his secretary asking her to make out a $30,000 check for Dixon, and the call to the bank authorizing Dixon to cash it.
Right.
That's it. So this guy, once Unsolved Mysteries comes to town,
right,
only to them,
he has his information.
He has this information that he knows both of them.
And information that's already been out there. So information you could easily be like, oh yeah, I know him, this is what happened.
It says multiple times in the articles, police do not believe they know each other.
Right.
And you didn't say anything for 17 years?
Yeah.
Needless to say, all the theories that we're going to have start with Tom Dixon.
Well, yeah.
They all say he's involved. Most likely responsible for the disappearance and murder of Gary Simmons. However, the theories of why he might have done it or in what way and whatever, those are different. And that's what we're going to go over.
Okay.
So first we have Gary's family. Jerry Simmons, Gary's brother, became...
Jerry and Gary.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I feel bad for Jerry.
Why?
Because he's hopeful.
Okay, Gary and Jerry.
Okay. Became optimistic when the remains of his brother were finally found.
Oh.
See? He told reporters, quote, "They are going to find out who killed my brother. I don't have any doubts."
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, hun.
Jerry believes his brother discovered that he had been tricked when he paid $30,000 for a horse. Yeah. Jerry goes on to say, quote, "I think he realized he had been conned and they got scared and they had to kill him." He goes on to say, quote, "My belief is that Mr. Dixon got involved in something much bigger than he thought it was going to be."
I mean, $30,000 for a horse back then? That's the price of a car now.
Yeah.
That's an insane amount.
Especially for the kinds of horses there's been a bunch of posts that I've seen where people are like, I know these type of horses. Nowhere, even the most nicest expensive one would not be nearly that much.
Yeah. Because you said that was like, what, 100-something thousand in today's money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like $30,000 is a lot of fucking money back then.
Yeah, exactly.
So the fact that he's just
right
handing it to supposedly a stranger about a horse, everyone's like, that doesn't seems ridiculous. When Jerry asked if he believed Tommy Dixon was still alive, he said his instincts didn't tell him whether Dixon was alive, but that he hoped to know soon. Jerry said, quote, "It's been 17 years of hell. It really has. I just want to find out who did it and get it over with."
Oh.
Mrs. Simmons said that Gary would not have made a purchase of that size without talking to her about it first.
Right.
And she never knew anything about this.
Huh.
Police have a pretty similar thinking to the Simmons family. In fact, investigators weren't even sure a horse ever existed. Kansas City police, I don't know which one, because they don't say. Just saying. Kansas City police learned several things they believe link Dixon to the murder of Gary Simmons. First, the statement that the worker from the salvage yard gave police back in 1974, it has now changed.
Oh, convenient.
Convenient. So this operator, who was a friend of Dixon, originally told investigators, showed up at 5 p.m. on the day that Simmons disappeared. Then he hung out, helped around, that kind of thing. Now the friend is saying, 17 years later, that Dixon's actual reason for visiting the salvage yard was to seek advice on junking a car. Investigators believe...
So not to buy a car. Okay.
Investigators believe Dixon was referring to getting rid of Simmons' 74 silver Lincoln Continental. Dixon's friend told police he had advised Dixon to drive the car to a boat ramp along the Missouri River and put a rock on the gas pedal and put the car in drive.
Convenient information to hold on to for 17 years.
And then you tell them when the body's found.
Right. And the car's been found.
Well, that happened 6 months after he disappeared.
Exactly.
So that's been forever.
Right. So it's like all of these things that have already come out.
Right. Apparently, this exchange between Dixon and the salvage yard operator is officially described in a police statement attached to a warrant, and this warrant charges Dixon with auto tampering.
Oh.
The warrant will ensure that if Dixon is ever stopped by police somewhere, he'll be returned to Kansas City. Don't know which one, because they don't say.
Right.
Lead Detective Zinn said, quote, "It's a way of playing the odds." Investigators also discovered that the cloth found with Simmons' remains is the type commonly used by painters.
Okay.
While Dixon worked many odd jobs, painting was his primary source of income.
Okay.
Police had also learned that Dixon and his mysterious friend Tom Callahan, the man who dropped Dixon off at the truck stop and let him borrow his car, apparently were both seen paying bills in cash hours after Simmons had disappeared. A witness said that Callahan was still spending sizable amounts of money several days after Dixon was last seen. Detective Zinn reported that in 1974, Callahan became uncooperative with investigators after a couple of initial interviews. They couldn't ask him any follow-up questions in 1991 because Callahan had died in 1982.
Oh, inconvenient.
Very. So, like I said, Dixon was kind of considered jack of all trades. So Detective Zinn thought that the cash from Simmons' check could help Dixon settle somewhere and establish a new identity. Zinn told reporters, quote, "This is a guy who could blend into the woodwork. Zinn told the media that they still had to assume Dixon was still alive because there was no evidence or remains to show that he was left in the same place as Simmons. Like I mentioned earlier, Gary Compton, the private investigator hired by the family, believes that Gary Simmons was killed because he was set to testify in a federal investigation into illegal black market oil that was running rampant in the mid-1970s. A little bit of history for you. Can't get out of it.
Nope.
The 1974 oil embargo was a significant geopolitical event initiated by the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OAPEC, in response to U.S. support for Israel during the Yom Kippur War of October 1973.
Wow.
So this whole thing has been happening for years.
Well, I think we knew that.
Oh, I didn't know if people did or not.
Oh, no, I think people knew it was going on.
There was also issues in the 40s too. Like, this was not the first time.
No, but I think now it's just because it's always been an issue, but then it'll have like kind of its like lulls.
Well, right now it's turned into a humanitarian crisis.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like you can't support the people that are murdering innocent civilians.
Yeah, it's all bad.
You know, like that. Anyway, 74. That's where we're at right now.
Yep, 74.
The embargo led to a substantial reduction in oil exports to the United States and other nations perceived as supporting Israel, causing a severe energy crisis. Do you remember, I think it might have been COVID, where the boat got stuck?
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And oil prices jacked the fuck up and there was shortages?
Mm-hmm.
Same vibe.
I just remember those shortages because I remember I was driving. I had gotten gas the day before, just like conveniently, like, you know,
Same.
Thank God.
Yes.
And I'm driving by and I see this long line coming out of a gas station.
Yep.
It's like, what the hell is this? And I'm like recording it and I like probably sent it to you guys. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then that's when we found out people were waiting like hours and hours and hours in line to get gas.
Yep.
I was like, y'all, it's like the question that I've asked before. Are you the kind of person, you get pizzas at a party. You don't know how many there are. Are you going to get one slice to make sure, one or two slices to make sure everyone else gets a slice? Or are you going to go up there and get 3 to 4 to make sure you have enough?
1 or 2.
Yeah. That's what this question is. It's like, are you going to get just enough for yourself that you know you're going to be fine? Or are you going to be the asshole who like hoards everything to make sure that you're set and you don't care about anyone else?
Like what people did with the toilet paper and shit?
Yeah. And the gas, where people were filling up canister after canister after canister and freaking plastic bags of gas.
Yep.
Are you? Stop. Yep. You will never need that in your entire life, but now all of a sudden you need it because you're scared other people are going to get it. That's the thing.
I don't know if they did that in the 70s, but like
probably not.
Like I said, same vibes.
But it's like the whole, are you a 1 slice of pizza person or a 3 slice?
Yeah.
Are you doing enough for yourself so everyone gets it? Or are you doing enough for yourself so only you get it?
Individual or community.
Yeah.
So the embargo highlighted the vulnerability of Western economies to oil supply shocks, which clearly we didn't learn about because it kind of happened again. Because not that they were keeping it from us, but a boat got stuck and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose.
God, if y'all didn't live through COVID, well, most people did.
The fuck?
No, but like people who like didn't deal with it like in the normal life or like years down the road when people listen to this, if they do, they're going to be like, what the hell went on in America and other places at this point in life?
We always said that this time would be fucking wild in the history book.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be insane in the membrane.
Insane on the brain.
Well, even like kids that were born the 2010s.
Right.
They lived through COVID, but they're still probably way too young to really remember.
To know what happened during COVID.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. So just know it fucking sucked. Long-term changes in energy policy, including increased focus on energy conservation, alternative energy sources, and strategic petroleum reserves. The EPA was created like 3 or 4 years before this.
Okay.
So it was a baby. So now that you know the background of what was kind of going on at that time and where this black market oil stuff comes from.
Right.
Now we go into the theory.
Okay.
So the private investigator, Compton, said that he thought, like many independent operators, that Simmons was forced to purchase fuel at inflated prices from illegal vendors to survive the energy shortage. Compton said, quote, almost all independent operators were involved in buying gasoline anywhere they could just to stay in business. He believed that black market operators had used Dixon as a lure to bring them Simmons. However, nothing was ever found or even confirmed by FBI or any other kind of authorities of any sort of investigation that they might have been conducting on black market gasoline and or that Gary Simmons was involved with it. Gary's friends and family insisted that he never would have done anything illegal like purchasing black market gasoline, and his financial situation had greatly improved by the time he went missing.
Okay.
If the whole thing about the $100,000 deal was going to happen.
Right.
He didn't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, something important to note is that the host of the Trail Went Cold podcast pointed out that these new and revised statements seem to show themselves when Unsolved Mysteries was going to do a segment about the case.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of the changed quotes are from that episode,
Okay.
not necessarily from the newspaper.
Right.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, the man who had found the bodies, an amateur cave person.
Right.
While in the Unsolved Mysteries episode, he had a premonition.
The caver had a premonition?
Well, he was actually a bus driver.
Oh. Okay.
He had a premonition kind of sort of feeling, and that was what led him that he's like, I got to go check this out.
I mean, we could say Unsolved Mysteries is kind of for entertainment purposes.
Correct. And no newspaper I could find said this guy's name.
The caver / psychic / bus driver.
Yeah, because apparently it was this guy who, because he had found the body, he was like, hey, Unsolved Mysteries, like you need to tell this story.
Okay.
And it's a lot of holes.
Yeah.
So are the statements legit or a way for these people to get their 15 minutes of fame?
That one.
Now my favorite kind of theories. The ones from Reddit, web sleuths, and other forums.
Yes.
These ones actually could have some, whatchamacallit,
Substance.
basis to it.
Yeah.
So our first Reddit user is Dr. Mysterious Name.
Oh,
Fucking love these usernames.
I do too.
They said, quote, according to the timeline given, Simmons would have had to leave his office with Dixon, drive to wherever the alleged horse was, inspect the horse. And they said, I don't know a thing about horses, but I'm guessing it would probably require a physical inspection plus reviewing medical records before spending 5 figures.
Okay.
And decided to buy the horse, all within 15 minutes.
Yeah, that seems okay. Yeah.
Because he called his secretary 15 minutes after leaving to tell her to cut the check.
Right.
Hell, double the time to account for approximated times. 30 minutes still seems an absurdly short window for a legitimate $30,000 purchase of a living animal to be worked out. He, Simmons, either was into something shady, laundering money, using business money for other purposes, etc., or he made that phone call to his secretary with a gun to his head.
Mm-hmm.
Which, the reason that's not addressed as much is because both the secretary and the bank guy were like, no, that was him.
Right.
Recognized his voice.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the gun to the head thing is still potential because it's still his voice.
Right. But their point being, like, he didn't sound, like, he sounded normal.
Right. He sounded like a normal guy saying, hey, can you cut this check? Hey, can you verify this?
But like I said, Reddit users know what they're talking about because that comes up later. And again, makes a good point. So our next friend is W. Lady Slaw Malkowitz.
Okay.
It's a username, so I'm not too worried. They said, quote, if Tom was indeed involved, I wonder if he forged Gary's signature on the check. If not, this may complicate things. So let's suppose the check was legitimately signed by Gary. Tom left the office at 11, went to meet Gary to get it signed, and then proceeded to the bank sometime before 12. I don't think he had enough time to do anything else other than handling the check.
Mm-hmm.
Bear in mind that Gary was placed at a truck stop at 10:30, some 10 miles away from his office during this time. They also addressed, like, if there could be more info about where the bank is to gauge how long it would have taken.
Right.
I think this will definitely indicate Gary was safe until 12 o'clock when the cash wasn't cashed.
Mm-hmm.
If this is the case, Tom then probably only returned to find Gary after 12:15 to deal with him and possibly kill him with a gun, and he had to travel again to Independence, adjacent town to Kansas City, to dispose of the body, and then went to a scrapyard that was apparently 11 miles away from the bank at around 5:30 to try to dispose of the car.
Right.
The timeline seems a bit tight, but still just enough time to pull everything off. I definitely think that the key clues may have been provided by Gary's secretary, people at the truck stop where Gary was last seen, the bank employee serving Tom, as well as the representatives of the scrapyard entertaining Tom. Because I'm like, if he brought that car there, he's supposed to have a truck. He has a silver Cadillac. It's probably a nice-ass car, too. They don't say nothing about that, but they do change the story that he wants to get rid of a car.
Right.
Don't mention the one he's driving.
Of course not.
Mm-hmm. They should have mentioned something about either Tom or Gary's mental state during their encounter, or whether there is anything off about their attire or even their physical state at this point, whether he had a lot of sweat or something like that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it does not sound like Tom was a likely perpetrator, and that is why we should really check the validity of the horse deal rather than just taking Roy Hilton's word that the deal indeed took place.
Yeah.
Right, because guess what? He was only on the fucking TV.
Right.
Came out of goddamn nowhere. Our next Reddit user makes an also a good point, just anonymous red eye. Quote, as I mentioned to someone else, the quality of the sound, the quality of sound on those phones back then was pretty abysmal. It was not hard at all to be mistaken for someone else if there was the slightest resemblance in voice, which I cannot tell you the amount of times I would answer the phone and whoever was on the phone thought I was my sister.
Okay. No, I get that.
Even our own parents.
Right.
Before caller ID.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To say nothing of someone actually good at impressions, making a solid effort. That sentence clearly doesn't make sense. Something about impressions.
Oh, yeah. It's like saying, if there's any resemblance that someone sounds like themselves over the phone, you're going to say, oh, yeah, that's them.
Mm-hmm.
But then if someone's good at impressions, there's not going to be any way that you're going to be able to tell.
Right. Like if they just change a little bit and if the sound quality is shitty to begin with, then... With that in mind, a fairly simple and straightforward con could explain everything that seems so puzzling. If you consider a two-person team, Dixon and Hilton. Hilton suggests Dixon has an available horse to Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of reports that said that Dixon said that he was representing someone who wanted to sell the horse, but that was never in the newspapers. The arrangement is made that Dixon and Simmons will meet at the truck stop diner, which I guess is where they assume that what's his name, is seen pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't say diner, just said truck stop. Just saying. But Dixon is waiting outside Simmons' office at a payphone within sight, while it is Hilton waiting in a back corner of the diner at the payphone. Simmons reaches the diner and takes a table, Hilton secretly watching, possibly wearing a bushy beard and clothing to disguise, to avoid being engaged by Simmons, if they did know each other.
Right.
Hilton then calls Dixon, followed by Simmons' secretary at the 15 after departure mark. It's Hilton that instructs the secretary to draft the check, so he's the voice on the phone. Hilton is watching to make sure Simmons stays in the diner, and when Dixon doesn't get a warning call by the pre-planned time, he goes to fetch 3 checks, which I don't know where the 3 came from.
Yeah, I was going to say 3.
Simmons remains unaware and is still sitting in the diner looking out the window, waiting for Dixon. Check in hand, Dixon forges Simmons' signature. Then, outside the bank, from another payphone, he checks in with Hilton at the payphone in the diner to confirm that Simmons is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And to confirm their schedule for Hilton to next call the bank. So Hilton is the phone guy.
Okay.
Dixon is the check guy.
Right.
Dixon cashes the check after Hilton's confirmatory impersonation to the bank, calls Hilton again to confirm cash in hand. Now timing from here becomes fervently relevant. Did Simmons leave in time to catch them in the act before cash was actually in hand? If not, then murder was the plan all along, at least for Hilton in this hypothetical.
Right.
Either way, Simmons gave up waiting and left, Hilton right behind him, killing Simmons and throwing his body in a trunk of his own car. Hilton most likely hid the body in the cave before going to meet Dixon to split the loot. If he'd left the body in the car and for Dixon to dispose of it, it seems most likely it would have gone into the river with the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it could have been Dixon that hid the body before dumping the car. Hilton seems to have been the shot caller in this possible scenario, ordering Dixon, now made aware that he'll be the fall guy, to dispose of the car. Hilton could even have later killed Dixon, last man standing with all of the loot, and seemingly disconnected from the money and therefore not incriminated until he fucking opened his trap on TV. The next 2 comments are under the post from the Trail Went Cold podcast on Reddit. Mozart of Cool said, quote, on the podcast, Robin says, I don't know if the person's name is Robin because he never says, but we'll assume that it is.
Okay.
On the podcast, Robin says Dixon actually came back from his apartment with Gary and did some work around his place, helping people out. It doesn't square with the take the money and run scenario we have from the Unsolved Mysteries account, where Dixon just runs off to parts unknown after dumping Gary's body.
Right.
That's why I think Dixon was double-crossed himself and thought he was helping to set something up, not knowing he was being made the fall guy by a silent partner. G. Gale Gold said, this is our last theory, I'm thinking that Gary wasn't a legit businessman and had a history of shady, if not outright illegal, financial dealings. And this is one that went very wrong. Here's a possible scenario. Gary and Dixon know of each other through the horse club, and Dixon is aware of Gary's history of questionable business practices. Dixon proposes an inflated horse sale in order to launder some money, possibly revenue from illegal activity at the junkyard. Essentially, Dixon has set himself up as the broker between the junkyard and Gary. The idea is the junkyard needs a launderer for $30,000. Gary buys the horse for $30,000, giving the money legitimacy. Oh, by the way, the $30,000 were taken out of an account that's rarely used and had exactly $30,000 in it.
Oh.
Forgot to mention that.
Mackenzie, that's a really weird aspect.
Correct. Sorry, forgot to throw that in there.
God.
He does this by instructing his secretary to write the check, giving it to Dixon to cash. Dixon cashes the check and returns the $30,000 in cash to Gary. Now Dixon has a clean paper trail for the $30K in illegal revenue. It came from the sale of a horse. And if you don't believe him, well, here's the canceled check, and the banker himself cashed the check personally.
Mm-hmm.
This part I don't 100% agree with, given that the bank, but actually they make a good point. Given that the banker offered Dixon the chance to use the check to open his own account, I suspect that the banker has cooperated in Gary's shady scheming before. Otherwise, $30,000 checks being given to strangers for odd reasons while the actual account holder is MIA should have set off alarms at the bank.
Right.
Which, agreed.
But I mean, they got the phone calls. He's the guy that they know.
It's a small town.
Right.
They might not think to distrust people like that.
Right.
Here's where things went sideways. Instead of returning the $30K to Gary, who was seen pacing around anxiously waiting on his cash, wouldn't you if someone was running loose with 30 large of your money? Dixon decides to keep the money. He just needs to get rid of Gary. The junkyard guys are satisfied. They have the horse sale and their money laundered. Dixon came through on their end. That's why he went back to the junkyard and finished out his workday. So Dixon needs to get rid of Gary. He kills Gary in his car, dumps the body in a cave, and ditches the car in the river. Now he's $30,000 richer. The only person who knows his scheme is dead, and he's free to leave town for good, abandoning his own failed enterprises and debts. $30K could set you up a whole new life in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
That's over $150,000 in 2021 money. Given the limited technology and less restrictive laws and regulations of the time, it wouldn't have been hard for Dixon to acquire the necessary documents to create a new identity.
Oh, not at all.
We will most likely never learn, in conclusion, we will most likely never learn about what happened to Gary Simmons and most likely Tommy Dickens, especially if Dickens has been killed.
Right.
Or in general has just passed away by now. There could be a whole side to this story that we have no idea about. Heck, it could have always been aliens. So, what do you think happened?
Each time you would give me a new theory, I liked that theory, and then I would hear a new theory, and then I would like that theory. See, right when you were like, oh, there was like this like silent third person, I was like, that's it. And then this theory, I'm like, oh, no, that's it. I kind of like this one, the most recent one, because I do like the idea that he left with the $30,000. He had all these debts that people know he had these debts. He had all these failed business things. He, was not doing great. And so this way he gets money. The person who knows he has money is gone. There's nothing tying him here. And like you said, in 1974, with $150,000 in today's money, with the technology from back then, yeah. You can start a whole new life.
Possible.
You can get all the things you need, and you can be free of all your debts, living somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think that Gary Simmons and Tommy did know each other.
Mm-hmm.
But because they ran in different circles, they didn't associate in public.
Okay.
But
secret knowing.
I think they knew each other. Because the part with the bank of like this account that had exactly $30,000.
See, that would have really given me some red flags earlier in the story.
Sorry, I forgot. But I'm thinking...
No, that's just weird.
It's weird, which is why I'm like, is there like a ransom of some kind? But wife and kids are fine.
When you say that, it makes me think immediately of John Benet Ramsey, where the kidnappers wanted the exact amount of money that the father got for his Christmas bonus.
Yeah.
Like down to like the dollar.
And Dixon was doing this because he was down on his luck and so much in debt. He was like $150,000 in debt.
Which in today's money would be...
a lot.
Wild.
$30,000 barely covers.
Right.
Doesn't even cover half.
No.
And so I'm like, why would was he planning on just using the $30K to peace out? Because I'm thinking of the equivalency to today.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore that a person in 1974 is looking at a $30,000 check like I've just made bank.
Yeah.
Which today we would have been like, that's nice. And so I'm like, no fucking way is he doing this for a horse. It's not like the guy really raced horses and things like that. The kind of horses he collected were used for very specific things, and they weren't this like high-end type of horse. No, even the nicest one wouldn't cost anywhere near that.
Right.
And he didn't tell his wife.
Right.
Which to me says he's involved with something.
Yeah.
Maybe accidentally. Maybe on purpose.
Maybe something that he's involved with that he doesn't want his family to be involved with. So if he keeps his family in the dark, they're technically safe.
Right. Maybe the reason he did well was not necessarily because he got black market oil, maybe because he got a loan.
Mm-hmm.
And Dixon's the go-between. Because there's still a dead body that was found a mile away from the fucking car.
Right.
And so in my head, they kill Gary, drop him off at the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Dixon thinks he's fine, goes to take the car to dump it in the water. The guys are, maybe someone's with him, maybe, head whatever guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, cool, yeah, like, we're good. And he's like, no. Car goes in, he's shot dead, left to decompose. And someone, somewhere, is $30,000 richer. Or something like that.
Or something like that.
I definitely think something shady went down. Whether Gary or not was accidentally or on purposely involved, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's something shady.
I definitely think that whatever it was, Dixon was also a part of, maybe a friend, like, the whole junkyard thing,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of association. And so maybe that's why, like, Gary says, I don't remember you. Although, again, guess when the secretary comes forward with that information? 1991. She does not say that in 1974.
Why?
I don't know.
Because stories changed.
I don't know. But and everyone was saying before that, no, they don't know each other.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't know each other. No, they don't know each other. And I'm like, okay, but they're also part of the same horse association.
Right.
A very specific horse.
How big was the horse association?
I don't know. It's a small town.
Because I feel like that's important. Like, in my sorority, I might have known of someone, but I definitely, didn't really know them. You know what I mean?
And maybe, when he did say, I don't remember you, maybe it's like, oh, we were both at this together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it could be, Dixon's way in to, convince
right.
Gary of, no, you do know me. We were both at this event together, and
right.
I know blah, 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 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that convinces him,
Mm-hmm.
gets him to go. Then he's like, nah, brother, you're kidnapped.
Right.
Do all these things. And if the phones are not that great, you're never going to know who it actually is. You're probably not thinking much.
Right.
Clearly, no one at any point was like, that's weird that you're paying $30,000 for a horse. No one did that.
Right.
Everyone was like, okay, sure, I'll do that for you.
Yeah, that sounds legit.
Oh, bank guy? Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. Here you go.
Right.
Nowhere along the way, someone was like, that's weird.
Let's look into this a little bit.
So that tells me that there's, I don't know. I think there's a lot of, I think the Callahan guy was Dixon's partner.
It sounds good. All the theories, honestly, sound good.
Mm-hmm.
You hear one, you're like, yeah, that's it. Then you hear another, you're like, ooh, yeah, that's it.
Why would he need his truck, though? I'm trying to think of, how he would have, where he would have had to take in Gary's car
Mm-hmm.
to the place and have someone pick him up.
Yeah.
It's not like he could drive both his car and Gary's.
No.
And his truck was at a different truck stop, supposedly not working.
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of holes.
Was it a big rig truck?
No, I think it was just a regular pickup.
Oh.
But his keys were still in it.
Right. The key's still in it, I feel like, is a common thing from then, especially in a small town.
Yes. But I think their thing with that was that because they were still in there,
It was like he was going to come back.
he was going to come back.
Yeah.
And so what I think happened is that Dixon was definitely part of someone's plan.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was Gary's, maybe it was somebody else's. And I also definitely think that he was double-crossed. So, if he was in a plan with someone else, like this Callahan guy who was supposedly seen spending this money and was supposedly uncooperative after a little bit, which is always sketchy,
Yeah.
then he was double-crossed by him. I still think got the car in the water, killed Dixon, he's the body. Or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if Dixon was in it with Gary or something along those lines, he would be with Gary.
Yeah.
Why would you dump them in two separate places? That's
make it harder
unnecessary
to
work.
find. To make it harder to make connections.
Unless you already had Gary's body,
Right.
dumped the car, and then shot Dixon. But I'm like, if I have two dead bodies in my car, I'm not going to stop one place to get rid of one and then keep driving around with another.
I don't know.
I'm going to get rid of both of them.
No, I'd probably different spots. Makes it harder to connect them.
But I wouldn't be thinking about that in 1974.
I don't know where I would be thinking in 1974, but at this day and age, definitely going to different spots.
Yeah.
Because if you connect me to this one and this one's also located there, you connected me to both of them. If you connect me to this one and this other body's somewhere else, I haven't been connected to that one yet.
Logical, yes. Practical, I don't think as much.
I don't know. It depends what the end goal
I feel like
was.
with your adrenaline pumping and like knowing you have a fucking dead body in the car, you would just want it the hell out.
But that's us with logical minds.
Correct.
There are many serial killers who have fallen asleep next to like the dead person. It's just in their house for a couple of days and then they take care of it.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking if, I don't know, convenience, you're not thinking about anything else because, you know, serial killers get caught.
Yeah.
Just dump the two bodies. Obviously, he dumped it far enough into a cave in a remote enough place that the thing wasn't found for 17 years.
Right. That too.
So I'm like, if you're in a pretty remote place, why are you going to go to a different, less remote place?
Right.
Because the decomposing body was found way before the skeletons.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And we'll never know.
We will never know. Because Dixon is probably dead by now,
Oh, yeah.
if he wasn't already killed.
Yeah.
And there's no fucking shot his name is still Tommy Dixon.
No. God, no.
Maybe not even Tommy. Maybe he's the drummer, Tommy Lee from Motley Crue? No.
Motley Crue.
Yes.
Look at you. Thank you. Well, nicely done.
Yeah.
This is a good one.
There's
I always like the one where it has so many theories that could actually be it.
I loved these theories. I thought they were so good.
They were good.
I was going to have some honorable mentions, hoping I could find some funny ones. And they were all, I was like, no, this is very legit. This is a good one.
I was just going to say, like, usually we'll get somewhere you're like, this is stupid.
I'm the one who put aliens in at the end because nobody else did. No one said anything about another dimension or aliens. And I'm like, well, we got to have those
Missed
in there.
opportunity.
Exactly.
No, but nicely done. This was a good one.
God, the things you could get away with in the 70s and
Seriously.
like.
That's why there's so many serial killers then.
And why clearly no one thought twice when someone's like, yeah, $30,000 for a horse, please.
Yeah. Okay, I believe you.
Which maybe the secretary was in on it. Never trust secretaries.
Never.
Even though she was a missus, you never know. He's a good-looking guy. He's only 32. It's not like he was old.
That's not old.
Mm-mm.
It sounds old, but it's not. It's not old.
It's a baby.
It's a baby.
He's a baby.
Well, thanks for listening. It was good getting back to it after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Almost forgot how to do it. No, kidding. Almost.
Well, maybe your microphones forgot how to do it.
They did.
And maybe your computer was a little...
Yeah. They felt neglected for 2 weeks.
They saw me walk by and were like, and then realized...
She's not here for us.
Yeah.
Well, like us in all the places. Follow us everywhere. Leave us a review.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty much everywhere at A Scary State podcast.
Yeah. We do that a lot. Do you know that?
So yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I take out our extra yes.
I do too. Turn it into a drinking game if you want to. Just drink every time we say yeah.
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 Don't be hammered in this last 5 seconds of this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so stay scary.
Yeah. Stay safe.